All right, we'll bring the meeting to order at whatever time,
6:07.
6:07. We'll start with the road report.
The first one on my list is down that, there's a hole in the walkway down there by the mill bridge. And it needs to have some attention. And one of you folks need to go see him. It does no good for me to go see him because he doesn't say, he just says he's gonna do something, but never gets around to it. So somebody has to go see the fella about that.
You're talking about Hank Joseph
Hank,
with his, what do you call it, a sluice way or something that goes underneath
Yeah.
the road to the old mill.
yeah,
So is he supposed to deal with it or us?
well, he says it's his situation, so cause my idea of fixing the whole mess is just fill it in. Call it done deal. And that would be my take on it if we had to fix it. So, and I know that's not the take he wants, so he needs to do what he said he was gonna do, or sooner or later, town needs to take and straighten it out.
You want me to talk to him?
I appreciate
All
it.
right, I'll put it on my to-do list.
That's your to-do.
Oh,
paper.
that,
Nice little index card.
thank you. Oh, to-do. What else?
Well, I just wanted to know Whitney Hill project is already underway. Being worked on not as we speak, because he's gone home, but
I'm with 8 to 7.
he's up there working on that. And Button Hill will start next Monday on the 19th.
How long is that anticipated to take?
Most of the time when John comes into town, he's gone in a week, so I'm thinking that probably you're gonna see him pretty much done up there within a week.
Is that one of those jobs where you guys are gonna haul the stone in, or does John's truck?
John take care of all that.
haul it? Yeah.
But I put signs up there saying that the road will be closed during the business hours. Just so people could start getting a feel for whether they like it or don't, so they can call. Town clerk lady.
What's that?
Is Mariah gonna contact Simon?
I already did.
Okay,
Yeah,
It's a-
all over it.
Is it technically gonna be closed, or if an ambulance came along or a fire truck, could they still get? through?
Outside of the culverts being replaced, technically, I think you could probably get by anytime you needed to.
Yeah, but Simon still ought to be.
But there is a issue with culverts. Sometimes the road's totally dug up when the culvert's being put in.
how many culverts?
There's two crossing the road. One driveway.
Yes, Brenda.
So Simon called me tonight and asked if I just, he doesn't have a chance to zoom in. His problem is, or what he needs to know is exactly when those culverts are going in. If the ambulance heads up there and they have a call and they think most of the time they can get through, but maybe culverts are going in or not, they need to know when. Because if they get there and someone's having a heart attack and they have to turn around and go over.
Well, I understand,
If
and
someone
I
can pick
and I
up the
agree with you,
phone.
and that's why I was wondering, maybe just should say closed, so they don't have to guess. It's closed from 7 o'clock in the morning to 5 at night.
So you just want it, you would like to see it just considered closed no matter what?
I personally think that makes sure nobody
Yeah, then,
gets into the room.
then there won't be no confusion on the time.
I'm sure you can get through if you showed up with your lights on, you could go right through, because even with a culvert problem, there's a few good swings with the backhoe, with the excavator, and whether the culvert's under it or not, there'll be a road there for it to cross over.
Right.
So his concern was that just make sure that they know which address numbers. That they have to go the other way, and if they can go through, if you knew, a certain day, you knew that was the day for the culvert. if you could let Mariah know so she can contact the 3 services. And that this is the day the culvert's going and you might want to go around. That's all he wanted me to relay.
Yeah,
to you.
I fully understand and I will do my best. I just, when you deal with equipment, it sometimes breaks when you don't expect it. And then you're a day behind what you said you told everybody you'd do.
Well, just do your best.
And that's really where it boils down to is, yeah, maybe it decided to rain like hell and Tuesday weren't gonna work for him.
Well, just let them know,
Yeah,
you know, that
So-
day.
so I was gonna say, that day, it's probably about as close as I can get.
That's actually acceptable.
Right.
That would work.
It'll work for us.
And still working on the idea of getting that Kibblin Bridge put in. Just gotta try to track down some. Some people will tell us that we can put our bypass in. If that didn't work out, might as well ask you, if that don't work out, what's the likelihood of closing it until the bridge is fixed?
If it don't work out, it's about 100%.
Because no matter how we look at it, that bridge needs to be done something with, because the lower side is just hanging in the air there pretty much.
Mhm.
So it's gotta go, and something's gotta go in its place. That's why we picked it.
Well, we can hope Janeways will respond and say it's okay.
Just so that you know that I hit you up with it.
Yeah.
And I thought probably that new 4-wheel drive with that style front end was probably a really good idea. I don't know how everybody else feels about it, but I think we're gonna be needing to sign for a truck again.
Do
I'll explain a little bit first that you and Mike and whoever met.
you remember what our first quote was? Was it on the minutes?
I think that still needs to be worked on, because I'm looking hours over today and it still looks like he's using a bigger truck than we were looking for, because the truck that was last quoted, it's set so high, the headlights were in the bumper.
Really?
And so, and I see that's still on this paper, so I
But we
tried,
don't, we
so,
don't need a high truck anymore.
no, not with that style front end in it. And so I tried to get a hold of him today to iron those things out. So I'd have something to tell you tonight.
Says SD plus. I don't know.
And so I don't think I think we got a little more work to
Oh.
do on getting the truck set up.
Now they're putting a 20,000 pound front axle on that, because that's what we thought, and that way you could take it out and use it in one of the 10 wheelers.
You know, see,
Would that jack the front end up?
it shouldn't. It should be just like Larry's. Larry's has got 20,000 in it. The one he's driving today, so it shouldn't change that part of it. The reason why it says 20,000 is it has, they can't send me a cheap front end because they're just gonna take it out.
Oh, gotcha.
They can't just send me one because it has to match what that door is gonna say.
Yeah.
And so, in order to get a 20,000 pound front end in underneath the truck, the throwaway front end has to be 20,000 pound also.
Because the company is gonna take out the front axle, throw it in the back of the truck and put in their front axle.
Right, I got that just a
Oh,
few
okay.
seconds ago.
Okay,
It all makes sense.
And it's supposed to be identical to the one that's in the new 10-wheeler. So if it's
right.
put away, if we need parts, there should be parts right there.
Gotcha.
And the. If it was to spin, it don't spin with just one front tire, it spins with both front tires. That's because it's independent hydraulics. And the front end, so the man said, Mike heard it too, it's very little in there, it goes wrong. So it should be a long lasting front end.
Yeah, he said the only thing. There was two sensors, I believe a heat sensor and a sensor for maybe pressure or something. He said those fail once in a while, but that's
Mhm.
20-minute job. Screwing one out, screwing one back.
Yeah.
So,
Parts only $1,000.
and Viking said that they would keep one on the shelf, but. If we're the only one in northern Michigan that's got one,
Maybe we should keep one on our shelf.
yeah.
Well, it's possibly be two in Tunbridge,
All right,
yeah, because it's the secret to getting the front end down low enough. So they can fit the fire station instead of building a new fire station.
Hey. And you said that this was a like maximum speed 15 miles an hour, but that was still gonna be fine.
Well, like I was telling Thomas, because that's your maximum, the truck can go 60 miles an
Right.
hour. But-
55,
but-
it says here.
Okay,
Yeah.
but it will only perform up to 15 miles an hour.
Right.
Cause then you would overspeed
But you can,
front axles.
yeah, just for curiosity's sake, does it automatically disengage when you go over
Yes.
15 then?
It automatically disengages and automatically engages
When you get
when
back.
you come back under 50.
Yep.
And there's no, hey, come on, work. And it sounds like a good deal. It's a
Yeah.
lot of money, but sounds like a good deal. Sounds like it might be considerably cheaper than owning transfer cases and drive shafts, front axles and stuff like that.
And the truck's no higher than a two-wheel drive, plus it turns the same as a two-wheel drive.
Mhm.
Because you don't have axles.
Right. So you're gonna eventually reorder, we are gonna eventually reorder the whole truck then,
Right.
and it's still 2 years out or something?
Well, the only reason why we're kind of,
He said if we waited until 2024. What were they changing?
they were changing the motors in the wheels to a
Yeah.
smaller setup.
Yeah.
Just as powerful, just as reliable, it's a smaller setup.
I believe that.
That was the word.
Make it smaller, it'll work better.
I sort of felt the same way you did, but we can't get that until the first of the year. And it sounded to me like it didn't really matter.
Because we weren't gonna have a truck anyways.
Yeah, it weren't gonna matter no matter what we do, because it's still looking like if we order now, it's probably 2 years away. If we order a little later, it's 18 months away. And that probably don't make sense, but
No,
that's what we tell me. But I think if we're gonna continue with a,
And they're putting 4,700 transmission instead of 4,600 because the front end won't have a transfer case. So the 4,700 transmission's got a low and a low reverse in them.
oh, yeah,
So, you
we would need that to use the home. We'd need something that
Right.
goes slow.
Yeah.
And that's the only way we can get a slow
Yeah.
forward gear is to buy this
there
transmission.
you go.
And if it works out good, we might want to consider using these kind of things in different rigs as well.
Right, right. Next time, what else you got?
This is not a immediate situation, but that diamond mower is getting old.
How old is that diamond mower?
We started using it in 96, I mean, 06.
Some sense?
The tractor seems to be doing pretty good, but the mower is starting to really get tired.
Is the whole thing tired? The whole boom and the arm and the everything?
Well, it's been welded.
Oh, that's a yes.
And so we either you just, because the whole thing is 06, you either
Right.
one day gonna buy a whole different rig, or at least something about a mower to go on that.
Can you get a price on a new mower so we could budget for it?
Yeah. And crack sealing. We game for some crack sealing to be done.
Yes, I was gonna ask you about that.
Because I think it's up close to $5,000 a day, you know.
How many days we got?
I think if we order our normal 3, we'd be sufficient.
A lot of money,
That is.
Cheaper and paving.
I suppose. How much does that do on an average? I mean, I know it's not.
I
something-
hopes that when we're. I hopes from what I have seen that we will cover every piece of blacktop we have.
Oh, in 3 days, yeah. Well, good.
And that's all I got on my little list.
If you want to make a motion that we let Rodney get ceiling for the pavement, or-
Oh, yes, I make a motion to let Rodney, contact the crack sealing guys to do 3 days of crack sealing.
see John's on board.
I second that.
He jumped right in.
How fast we drive?
That treat that he had must have
I
zoomed in
guess
right up and
so.
down.
Oh, extra figure
That's
there.
because the Stratford Road's in good shape, thanks to all that crack sealing in previous years.
All right, all in favor of. Let me get this other across.
Aye,
All in favor, say aye.
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 I guess I do have one more.
We heard anything about Stratford Road?
Well,
Following
I
on the
think
river?
something came in this office about Stratford, right? Cause somebody seems to know something about $330,000. You haven't heard. much.
Nothing I've seen. Maybe Mary Ann,
Well,
or
that's-
maybe Becky.
I believe it was Mary Ann that actually told me some number like that. And I tried to get a hold of
I think that
Chris
was,
Bump, find out. Cause last I know, it ain't even been study done yet.
Right,
I think that was just the amount of money that we've been awarded that would go towards that project, because the Stratford Road paving grant is getting transferred into
Right.
fixing the road, and then there was also money that Chris had found that was like $130,000 that was
Well,
gonna
that
go
would,
towards
that
that
would
as
make
well.
sense.
Yeah.
Those will give me the numbers, I didn't, when I talked to him, he had found money to bring that up to 200,000.
we need to hire an engineer though, to assess the whole
Well,
situation.
we've done that.
Yeah,
And we're just trying to, but because we were trying to keep the cost down, the state was coming out to do their valuation instead of hiring an engineer to do the valuation.
so have you got that report yet, or,
I haven't seen nothing yet.
and I assume we can't proceed onward until we get a
All
report,
right,
because you can't bid it or anything.
I don't even know what they want us to do yet.
Right. And is the hopes from what you've heard to get it done before the fall, before winter time?
I've made it quite clear that something is gonna happen for snow flies,
Cold.
even if we fill it in ourselves so we can get through the winter.
Uh-oh. That won't be good.
All right, anything else for Rodney? Or have you got anything else for us?
I think we're good.
Anything else for Rodney, John?
No, you'll just, hopefully, I'll catch up with you later about the road report.
Okay, sure. All right, you're dismissed.
Alright. That's about it, and I tell y'all.
Have a good walk home.
Or we walk down?
I did.
It's part of his PT.
Oh, really?
I know. I did.
All right, I see Joe Paquin's on board and it says tax sale approval legal wordage. That's a different word.
And I, wordage,
Wordage.
yeah, we only had 5 minutes, I was
Yeah.
timing in.
Here we go,
Yeah,
Joe.
it's hello guys, it's super simple. Mariah, I did get your message. That's all set. So the language that the lawyer has requested is that you guys make a motion to use Stitzel, Page, and Fletcher to conduct the town's tax sale. And
You get that,
that's
Mary?
No, not at all.
Stitchel,
Stitzel?
Stitzel, Page, and Fletcher to conduct the town's tax sale.
It's not in there.
I
Yeah,
make a
please.
motion that we have Stitzel,
page,
Page. And who?
The
Fletcher.
town-
Fletcher.
And Fletcher. Conduct the tax sale for the town.
I second that motion.
Okay, any other discussion on that? If all in favor, say aye.
All right.
Aye,
Aye,
it's unanimous.
litigious motion.
Yeah. Thank you. I was under my 5 minutes. Enjoy.
Good job, thank you.
He's out of here.
I'm out. Thank you, everyone.
Bye,
Joe.
Joe.
Bye.
Didn't even have to dismiss him.
No. Already had the door open.
That's right. All right. Take care.
All right, we're 3 minutes late. Robert, do you want to wait 3 minutes or you want to step up?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Come right in,
Come right up.
come in here, take one of the good chairs.
Be careful, they roll easy.
Sit back, huh?
You know, Robert?
I do not know Robert. I know
Well, we've met
brother.
several times. It's always been down at the fair.
Oh, okay.
Bob Giles.
And you know John O'Brien, don't you?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And nobody else counts, so.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
That's from,
You don't come around?
I thought I did, but I guess I don't.
Yeah, well, okay. I know already.
Yeah.
So. Basically, here, I'm here to try and plant a seed. I got involved with that Central Vermont intelligence-based policing by default. I'm the administrator of their page. I was asked to do it. And through that, in the last 3 years, I have had a lot of Tunbridge and Chelsea residents that don't want to post anything on there. Private message me or call me. And out of that has come the fact that there's just way too much crime in this area. And for a lot of us. And we are in a situation of a understaffed state police barracks. And Hugh has personally told me that they're at the point now where they're basically triaging their calls. You know, if it's a serious call, they go. If it's property crime, stolen catalytic converters, you may be just told to call your insurance company. And the majority of the people that are contacting me don't want to hear that. What they want is a police officer and somebody held accountable and responsible for a crime. So, being associated with both towns after living in Chelsea for 64 years, now moving into Tunbridge and married to Tunbridge,
You married up.
I've got, you know, I mean, 30% of my graduating class in high school were Tunbridge
Right.
residents. So I've got a connection to this town that goes back, you know, headed for 70 years now. We're getting pretty close. And but I know there's been the differences between the two towns politically for whatever reason. Seems like the residents seem to be able to get along, just the governments can't get along. Entities. But I've talked to Vershire, I've talked to Chelsea Selectboard, and now you're the third one. And I was planning on seeing Stratford too. Because we have no county sheriff's department. And we have a sheriff who I have talked to on 3 different occasions now since he was, I don't want to say elected, since he was sworn in. Every time I ask him what his plan is to rebuild this department is, I don't have any people, I don't have any money. Well, that doesn't sound like much of a plan to me. So after talking to you, and I talked with
Who's here?
the lieutenant, Mel Donald over at the
Okay.
Bethel Barracks, who covers this area. And I have talked with St. J too, because they cover Vershire area. I think that 2 towns, and I don't care who the 2 towns are, maybe even 3 towns. But the seed I'd like to plant is if abutting towns on a corridor, you know, crossing these mountains takes time. And, but Stratford is, you know, you got a good, pretty decent road, well, 1 stop sign now. To Stratford, that, you know, those 2 communities, South Royalton and Tunbridge, you know, maybe even 3 communities, pool their resources for an officer that is, you know, divided up. I don't care whether it's, you know, 10 hours a week, 20 hours, whatever the patrol time is designated for each town, but he's in one of those 2 or 3 communities. And so when that 911 call comes in, he's ready to respond. And he's not an hour away. He's 15 minutes away. And I spoke with First Branch Rescue. And they oftentimes do not have police support at calls for not only minutes, but sometimes it's over an hour. And, you know, in a domestic dispute with a battered person, an hour can mean a lot.
And it's not their job
Right,
to do.
right.
mediation,
And
but-
so, you know, if they, you know, protocol is not to go in.
Right.
But if you know the situation and you're, you know, and it's desperate, I don't know that they go in. They have on a few occasions, auto accidents and stuff like that. They're there before the police are there. And, you know, for an auto accident, it's probably generally not that big a deal, but.
Right.
So that's what I was thinking. Chelsea, I know, has a pool of money. Berkshire has a pool of money. I was gonna talk with Stratford just because they abut here. Royalton has their own PD. As a matter of fact, I was talking with Brenda earlier today. And I guess they've expressed an interest. Windsor County, I spoke with sheriff down there, Palmer. And they have the manpower and the equipment. And they have officers that reside in Royalton and in Sharon. So,
That would make more sense to me than hiring someone because.
well,
then you gotta buy a car and.
no, hiring somebody, I think, is out of the question. I mean, we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars to set up a PD. You look at what's going on in Randolph right now. But contracting. And then the only thing that I want to add to that is in talking with several different sheriffs and state police people, it seems like towns want to write these contracts to do this, but don't do that, do this, but don't do that. And
Like what, for example?
Right, it doesn't make any sense to me.
No, give me an example of what's this and what's that.
Well, we don't want you bothering the local people driving to work in the morning that are only going 10 miles an hour over the speed limit.
That wouldn't be my complaint.
Well, no, it wouldn't be mine either, but these are some of the things that, you know, along those lines of, well, you know, this guy always rides his lawnmower down 110 to go to the store.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, he doesn't bother anybody. And well, guess what? It's not a registered vehicle. It shouldn't be on the highway. So one of the things that I found, I was military police. And I've been involved in policing activities around the state of Vermont all of my life in one form or the other. Constable at one point and concerned citizen at most other points. And I think that it's too bad that we are doing selective policing. And that seems to be what is happening out there. To me, when my catalytic converters were stolen, $1,000 worth of catalytic converters off my truck, I can tell you right now, I did not want to hear, well, you better talk to your insurance company. I would just as soon see the individual at hard labor for the next 20 years.
Right.
So, with all of that said, I would just, you know, hope that maybe with the seed planted that I don't know, does Tunbridge have a fund right now that is setting stagnant because there is no
Yeah,
patrol?
We have a amount of money for the sheriff's department.
That envelope right there, yeah.
It doesn't, you know, I don't care about the amount or anything
I
else,
think
but
it
I
was
just,
$10,000, I think.
Right.
and
He's doing May $221. You know, that's
Yeah, come in on $1,000 this year.
4 hours for the month.
right, 4 hours. And so and as far as I know, he's got one working officer and himself doing the courthouse duty and nobody manning the offices. And I don't even know, he at one point had talked with Addison County about doing dispatch with them on. What does Addison County know about Tunbridge, Vermont?
How much yet?
Yeah,
The gripe I've had for years is I would like people to respond. I'd like the law enforcement to respond when your catalytic converters are stolen, to have an officer come and at least document that and do something,
right,
as opposed to just driving around the back roads trying to prevent crime by being visible.
right. And unfortunately, our contracts with our local sheriff's department over the last several years, it has been more riding around and riding between towns
Right.
than it has been actually doing something. And, you know, you just posted this speed limit down here in the village. And I don't know if the select board has adopted the balance of the state highway system in their speed limit zones. Did you requested the 30-mile-an-hour drop, I assume, or drop to 30 mile? By doing that, that's becomes a town issue. Even though it's a state highway maintained by the state and everything else. Every car that's stopped out here on the highway for speeding or defective equipment or whatever, the town gets 75% of that fine.
Right.
And those are dollars that can be rolled right back into, you know, patrol police.
Right.
And, you know, Versa wasn't even aware of that.
Yeah.
They didn't even know it. And, you know, they got a 40, I think it was a 40-mile-an-hour speed limit
Probably,
through their village and they've never done anything with it, just left it. So anyway, that's what I have to say. I did, when I initially started to put this together, like I said, it was basically Tunbridge and Chelsea residents that were talking to me about, you know, what are we going to do about policing? So The Vermont State Police broke down all of the crimes they responded to by town, both Tunbridge and Chelsea. There was 193 incidences in Tunbridge, and this is from March 1st of 2022 to the last day of February 2023. It's 193 incidences in Tunbridge, 170 in Chelsea. That's 363 incidences. Oh, that's one a day.
Yeah.
That's one a day.
Yeah.
The Orange County Sheriffs, for whatever reason, first of all, NCIC, the National Crime Information Center, is being nixed. And this new national incident-based reporting system is replacing it. And so the first and last figures that were available for Orange County Sheriff's Department, I could have broke them down by town, but it was almost impossible because they have over 400 reported crime lines. So what I did was I took Tunbridge and Chelsea together, and that was 42 incidences for 2021, but that's the first year of the incident based, and it was also the last year that the full reports were in. And as a matter of fact, when I checked, there's no reports going in now. So, well, maybe there's no activity either. So,
Right.
But at any rate, and First Ranch Ambulance responded to 56 incidences that required, some legal support. And motor vehicle accidents, 26, mental health issues, 16, assaults, 5, drug overdoses, 5. And that seems to be kind of consistent when you read down through the state police of domestic abuse is one of the major issues. And I mean, I think Tunbridge was pretty high in that. 22 cases in March to March.
Yeah.
So anyway, there's the numbers. If you want them, you can have them. There's 3 sheets there for each of you. But like I said, I didn't, because I initially started this whole thing because it was people from Chelsea and people from Tunbridge asking me what we were gonna do. I didn't get into breaking down Berkshire and Stratford and Randolph and South Royalton. And the numbers will go up considerably when you start getting into South Royalton and Randolph anyway. So, but I think there's a lot of people out there that want to see a response of some kind, and maybe it's being put right back into our lap to come up with a way to do it. And maybe one of the ways to speed up the response time on these individuals is contracting with somebody and putting a couple towns together so that if we're paying for 4 hours and Stratford's paying for 4 hours, well, that's 8 hours. And and during that time, he's available to swap from one town to the other if there is an issue. So, that's fine.
Are you just here to give us information, or are you here?
Well, yeah, like I said, my initial comment was I'm here to plant a seed to see if, this select board is interested in some kind of approach like this and would, I mentioned this same thing to Contois. Hey, maybe one of the ways of rebuilding your department is making sure you have an officer and then putting together a consortium of towns so that you're going to get funding, you're going to have work for the guy. And
What do you say to that?
oh, well, yeah, that might be a good idea.
What did the other towns, you said you've been to First year in Chelsea, what was the response?
Chelsea says, well, yeah, we will definitely consider it. And I did notice in their minutes after the meeting there that they were gonna contact, or they were interested in contacting Tunbridge and Vershire.
Mhm.
And one of their individuals seemed to think that 3 towns going together would increase the amount of coverage in a given day or week, depending on the funds available. And that maybe 3 towns wouldn't be too big a stretch, in response time.
Right.
You gotta remember, I mean, you get back up in Ward Hill and you gotta end up in Chelsea West Hill
Right,
upon Edwards Road. It's still a fair hike.
right, it's 20 miles from,
Yeah. And but it's a lot better than somebody coming from Heartland up here,
right, and they may not always be that far apart.
right, and they may be in Rochester, you don't know.
No, but you might be on 110 down at the bottom of Edwards Road or something. It
Right.
Might be 10 feet apart,
Right.
who knows?
Yeah.
You never can predict.
So, yeah, it's, I'm not here asking for funds, okay, let's, hey, cost me $100,000, I'll put this together. It's just to try and at least get the towns talking about doing something.
Yes,
And, I was, inherited Tunbridge and Chelsea and parts of South Royalton and Washington when I worked for AOT and was on these roads at every hour within a 24-hour period on certain days.
Mhm.
And the stuff I saw at night's not good.
Yeah.
It's not good. And
what did you see? Just too much traffic, too much?
well, no, the pull off down here by Grant Corwin's old farm, the town line pull off.
Yeah.
That's drug haven.
And that,
Your recreation field up here is drug haven. And I've been to Chelsea a dozen times asking them. And many people from Chelsea have shut down that library Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Immediately. Put a password on it. Only library members have the password. And because Chelsea, like Tunbridge, has very limited cell service. And with Wayland having the garage right across the street from the library, it's quite interesting to spend a few hours there and watch these certain individuals pull in there, use their telephone. And then 20 minutes later or an hour later, somebody comes in, drives around the park, 2 cars are sitting there like this and their hands are going back and forth between the cars. Interesting enough, that happened during the Chelsea Selectboard meeting and they watched it along with me right outside the window of the town hall. And I, for whatever reason, at 2:30 in the morning.
Right.
2 cars parked side by side down by the recreation field in Tunbridge. No, I don't think they're down there visiting.
they aren't careful, I know.
And one night, it turned out the roads were in pretty decent shape. It was winter time. And it was, roads were in pretty decent shape. I had a little time to kill. So I pulled into the pull off up on top of the 110 and watched. And as soon as the cars left, I followed. Massachusetts police. And I followed them all the way to South Royalton and they turned left. So they were getting back on the interstate. They'd already made their draw.
Yeah.
And that was a Tunbridge draw.
Mhm.
And I've witnessed the same thing in Chelsea.
Yeah.
So we're not immune for it. Unfortunately, we have a judicial system and a legislative system that is not very supportive in nixing this problem. And so it's up to us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, John, have you got any questions or anybody in the room got any questions, Robert? John, that's a good one.
No, I mean, I appreciate Bob for coming in. I think it's a good idea. I like anything with a local solution. And I think, you get better results with, and maybe just because it hasn't been successful really in the past with Orange County, that maybe a new sort of model based almost on the emergency services of, paying per call or something like that might work. If we have a consortium of towns, of 2 or 3 towns, if it's one a day or something like that. But I'm be happy to get in touch with Ryan Palmer, the chief in Windsor now, and see if he'd come talk to us or send a representative, so we might be able to do the same thing as before. But
Yeah, his
maybe different.
comments. Go ahead, John.
No, just maybe a different model than we've had in the past, not to sort of drive around and be preventative by showing your presence, but more being there to respond to crime, so when the catalytic converter is sawed off and, you see the person doing it or you see them around your property, they would be there. So but I think, I think we've probably been remiss in not figuring out what's going on with Orange County sheriffs too. It sounds like, I know it was a mess, but it sounds like it's a mess with no end in sight. So we better figure out something here.
Right. Well, and Palmer, when I did talk with him, he was more than willing to come and talk with any, select board or group of people that were interested. And, and he did make the statement that he had the manpower and he had the equipment to put somebody out there. And my understanding in talking with sheriffs and the state police is, as long as they are a certified police officer in the state of Vermont, we don't have to contract with Orange County. We don't have to contract with a PD department. It can, it could be Addison County.
Right.
But they have to be certified police officers.
Right.
And unfortunately, police officers are certified in many things. And having one individual may mean that the officer that is going to be responding is not certified in mental health issues.
Right.
Or he's not trained in domestic issues. But what I have found in the people that have been contacting me is they really don't care what training they are. They just want to see a uniform and a gun and some protection.
Right.
And I think that initial contact, is very, very important.
Yeah.
And it takes a special individual to be that type of person. So, but then they can come in with their certified, special trained, whatever
Right.
individuals afterwards. But just to get somebody there to make sure the situation is, one of my major concerns is speedy and safe for our emergency personnel.
Right, exactly.
Regardless of whether it's fire, rescue, or ambulance.
Yeah.
I'm almost 70 and I'd like to have an ambulance crew come if I really need them.
I think they do.
And I don't want to see a understaffed ambulance crew because they're too afraid to go to.
Yeah.
To respond.
All right, well, thank you,
Okay.
Robert.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yep. Gary and Mike, the other thing, possibly if we had a department that, a sheriff's department that was sympathetic, their responding officers could somewhat meet our needs too. So if we have a lot of domestic assault, or I was thinking humane officer would be great, if we had a really good, either whether it was VSP or whether it was Windsor County Sheriff's Department, but that would be great to have a trained officer, humane, officer for animal cruelty investigations would be great too.
You can contact Windsor County.
I can, sure.
Why don't you contact them, have them talk to us or
Yeah.
something?
Yep, no, I will. I mean, two funny things there. One, this Ryan Palmer who became chief was a DJ at one of our weddings before he got elected. That was one of his side jobs. And the other thing, maybe somebody else on the call here knows, is one day we came through town, must be a month ago. There were 4 Windsor County Sheriff's deputies in town 4 different cars. So I had no idea that was. Did you see that, Gary?
Yeah, there was something about the governor's highway fund or something like that. They had money to patrol or something.
Huh. Yeah,
That's
it
what-
seemed odd. It we
There
looked
were-
like a Winter County town.
Talking about a few days ago, John.
It might have been 2 weeks.
No,
ago.
this was probably a month ago. And
Yeah.
they didn't look, they were, they looked like they were on some manhunt or something.
It wasn't, it was a safety mission. And
Okay.
it's a federally sponsored where they saturate patrol an area. And basically they're getting defective equipment, people not wearing their seatbelts, speeding. And the one that occurred here, there were 2 Randolph PD, 1 Royalton PD, and 2 Vermont State Troopers. That participated in 110 corridor one. And they do them all over the state, most generally because it's federal funds, it ends up on the interstate.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. This was for Windsor County Sheriff, so it just seemed odd. It was so heavy in that direction.
yeah. Very good, thank you.
Right, thanks, Robert.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Robert.
Thanks, Bob.
Yeah, we're timely tonight.
We are 2 minutes early.
What do we do in 2 minutes?
I don't know. Cake. I was gonna say, I might eat one of those chocolate
What are you
croissants,
drinking?
just water now.
Yes.
Pretty boring.
No,
You want one of these?
sure.
You get
They were
enough to
good.
share? Everyone?
If you want
What
one.
if everybody?
I'll wait. I'll wait.
You get chocolate all over your hands, Mariah. though.
Okay, I'll wait. I'm waiting until later.
All right, it says legal trails at 7 o'clock, so let's just start early.
So early.
You're right on time, yes.
Oh, yeah, there's that little second hand, all right. I was thinking about this, believe it or not, I thought about this way too much in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
We all have.
Yeah. And I was thinking it all started. Because John didn't like Janet riding her bicycle.
Yeah.
Across the legal trail.
Wasn't just me.
Well, Janet and I
was first.
I mean, I don't
I
remember.
might have been, yeah, but yes, Penny.
Anyway, so we, the select board, as I remember, it said we were gonna try to work out some solution that would benefit the townspeople because it's a legal trail and it's everybody's legal trail. And then we've been sidetracked a lot for the last 3 years, and we've had committees, and we've had the Trails Committee, and we've had the Planning Commission, and here we are still going around and around. And I would like to come to some sort of solution, and I don't know right now what the solution is. I know what I'd do if I were king, but I'm not king, so,
Not what Mariah said.
no,
King chair,
same thing.
yeah.
Anyway, so I guess I'll open it up to anybody who wants to speak.
Well, I'm not sure if that was the reason why we got on your schedule tonight, but it was certainly my intent to, and also my intent to make this as brief as possible, because we all know the ins and outs, we all know all the arguments. And I'm simply here because I mean, honestly, I'm very frustrated that the trails are not open to bicycles after the mud season is over and it's been unposted. I think we have there's no reason why the trails should not be open. The Trails Committee and the Planning Committee have recommended bicycle use for the trails. We have a lawsuit going, and the first ruling was thrown out, and our legal counsel says that we will not hurt our current case by allowing bicycle use on the trails. I also think, another thing is that by saying for one more year, and I'm talking 3 years now, that we're allowing these trails to not be used. and excuse me, but for one man's insistence that 200 years of history doesn't apply to him. And, you know, so we're setting a precedent. This trail is not being used for bicycles, and there's no reason why it shouldn't be. And I understand that, I mean, nobody, no how could ever argue that the select board has not been extremely cautious, polite, and diligent in their approach to this case so far. But it's 3 years now, and it's time for bicycles to go back on the trails. And, you know, I think, you know, there's been many letters, I think, that said it much better over the week, but, you know, so I'm gonna resist the temptation to point out the pros and cons and just state that last meeting, for some reason, the decision was made to not allow bicycle use on the trail. And I guess I'd like to know why that decision was made. Maybe there's something I don't know. And also, I'd really like to suggest that we change that ruling, and if not, I think this might be a good time to bring in the rest of the town on this question, because, you know, and I could say that, to your point, Gary, let's just be done with this. Let's admit what's always been true, that the trails are usable to non-motorized use, and be done with it, and we'll wait for the lawsuit. We can't, you know, we can't placate the situation. We can't, let's make the decision and be done with it. I think if we had made this decision to just, you know, given that the the Department of Environmental Protection has easy workarounds for any complaints about wetlands areas. Our legal counsel says it's fine if we do, the state says it's fine if we do. Let's just do this and be done with this argument. We'll just let the lawsuit do what it's gonna do. And, you know, then, you know, what harm could be done from that, except for upsetting one person who's gonna remain upset no matter what we do. I mean, nobody can be under any illusions that there's any placating here, you know. So I guess that's all I have to say. And I am so sorry, you guys, for all this time and all this energy. It's exhausting to me, and I'm not even a selectman, so thank you very much.
Thank you, George.
Could you make John smaller, so in case anybody
Yes.
on Zoom has their hand up, you can recognize them?
Sure can.
Make John smaller.
Yeah.
Sorry, John, you're small.
Now, I have,
Yeah,
I don't think that, and I've been a member of the Trails Committee since the inception of it. And the Trails Committee did not recommend bicycle use. That was to be whatever the select board had decided. We never recommended bicycle use on the trails.
Did not all of those meetings that we had with people and
We
all
did
the
not-
information we
did
gathered,
not- we did not
recommendation of
come to any
the committee
conclusion.
was to.
We did not come to any conclusion on that.
So
So
you-
that's not accurate, but
Okay, well, it's
just to
okay.
point that out.
Right.
Oh, Amy, yeah.
I just, thank you, George, for stating that. I could not agree more. And I just think that we don't have to make this really difficult, as George is saying, there's a perfectly reasonable solution on the table that's been on the table for 3 years, pretty much, and just, you know, pending discussion and, you know, wetland observation, we just go back to the original use of the trails. And let the lawsuit play out if it needs to play out, but it shouldn't affect use for everybody, non-motorized use on the trails. So whether or not the Trails Committee reached any conclusion about bicycles, it really is irrelevant, because we should just be reverting back to the original policy / non-policy of trails are open.
And also, in my opinion, we, the select board, asked the planning commission or the trails committee or whatever to kind of gather information for us, but it's ultimately our decision. And we can go totally counter to what anybody says.
Correct.
And then you just unelect us. Anyway. John,
Can I just make it clear that John is the plaintiff in the lawsuits that have been referred to?
Yeah.
And is not a resident of Tunbridge?
sure.
Okay.
Okay, John,
You pay taxes.
that's good.
Still not, you don't live there.
That's okay.
What does that have to do with anything?
Okay, well, anyway, I'm the chair, and so please talk through me. I mean, I appreciate your enthusiasm, but.
Sorry.
So,
I'd say he didn't want to rehearse all the facts, but then he did a kind of a quick survey of his version of all the facts. And, you know, and I don't want to repeat all that either, but there's some notion that there's this idea that there's a guy given right to bicyclists to use these trails for bikes. There is no right to use this trail for bikes. If the pogo stick players, enthusiasts came in here and said, we want to do pogo sticks here. Or the ATV people came in here and said, we have a right to this. Well, they don't have a right to it, right? It's a decision for the select board about to authorize the uses, and there's no entitlement to any particular uses. I disagree entirely on the history. You know, if you go back into the planning, the plans, when we bought the property and the plan before we bought the property, up until in some magical moment when there was nobody present, the planning commission eliminated it. The plan prescription was the trails are for walking.
I'm gonna interrupt you, Ted, briefly. The town plan is the town plan. The town plan isn't a policy. The suggestion in the town plan was to use it for X, Y, or Z. It isn't stamped on, I mean, it isn't in granite.
It was all we had. You know, I'm a lawyer, I'm energetic, and you see me a lot, but it is absolutely not true that I'm the only person, the one man standing in the way. Cal Hemingway is affected by Falls Hill. Priscilla Farnham, through a spokesperson, expressed her point of view. Others on the crossroad expressed their point of view. Landowners affected by every single trail in Stratford have expressed their opposition to opening these trails to bicycles. It's not just me. I may be more forceful. I may have more legal training. I may have more resources in order to go to court, but I am not the only person expressing this point of view. And it is just completely unfair to Priscilla Farnham, who's lived in this town for decades and has been an incredible steward of the land, and been very, very generous in offering people use of her land, to just disregard her point of view and say, well, that doesn't matter. But our basic pitch on the ultimate question, I didn't know what I was getting into coming in today, because I was pleased with the vote last time. I think it's the correct vote, and I'll explain why it's the correct vote. But the basic position of Karen and myself and other landowners is we've been very good stewards of the land. We've conserved the Dodge farm. We've opened it up to all sorts of recreational uses. And our position to the town is, we have been generous, voluntarily generous. It would suck for us if you rode bicycles, including but not limited to electric bicycles, right through our farmstead. So we ask that you not do that. I don't think that's an outrageous position. There are scores of miles of trails of right of way in this town that people can use. There's no absolute necessity to use those. I mean, I understand that bikers would like it, they'd be disappointed if they don't get it, but the landowners who are affected by these 4 trails are the ones who are directly impacted. I have, so that was my opening position 3 years ago. Now we have gone further than that, and I've said, look, let's find a compromise. Any person who's disinterested and who takes an objective look at this, not part of the warfare, but here's about this. They say, well, the obvious solution is to achieve a compromise, is to move the trail. Because then you can avoid the impact on the farmstead and you can get bikers from point A to point B. And I think it's good government 101 to say we're not trying to pick a winner or a loser. We're trying to figure out how to recognize the various legitimate interests that are being advanced and figure out how to accommodate, to the extent possible, all the different interests. And Falls Hill is a different problem, right? Because there's no real alternative, but there is this question of what do we do about what do you do with the trail from nowhere to nowhere? And then you have the crossroad and you have the Orchard Trail, each of which lends itself to a reroute. The Planning Commission, one of their first recommendations when they finally sort of delivered their recommendations to the select board and more or less washed their hands of this issue was pursue alternative routes. That was one of their lead recommendations. And that unfortunately has not happened. Now, if I had my druthers, I'd say, look, let's just call an end to it. Pass an ordinance, say no bikes, okay? That's my first offer. That would make all the landowners who are opposing the opening of these trails content. The second is, let's set up a serious process to look at the alternatives. Or if, or we're left with the fact that we have an ongoing dispute about maintenance. I maintain, and I taught property at the only law school here in the state of Vermont, and I've studied this, that the right to maintain these trails belongs to the landowner. And after all this briefing, I'm really convinced we're right. And Paul Gillis is wrong, okay? But, we'll see how that goes.
Well, let me question you then, before I forget it.
Yeah.
So say, for instance, we open the Orchard Road legal trail up to whatever, to ATVs, and they make a mess of it, then are you required to maintain the trail?
I'm not required to maintain.
I thought you just said.
I had the authority to decide whether and how to maintain the trail.
So they can make a mess of it and you're not gonna care.
Well, I'm gonna care a lot, but.
So why aren't you gonna do something about it?
But it's, when these trails, for the first 5 years of our ownership, these trails were marked for pedestrian only, and generally that was respected.
By who?
Hmm?
By who?
By us. Which in accordance with the town plan, then in effect, but I understand, okay, but the point is that right now, we have a debate about who gets to maintain the trails, right?
You have a debate.
No, well, the town and John and Karen have. a debate,
Well, so,
right?
yeah.
And that debate has not been resolved, right? Now, the landowners are not maintaining trails. Priscilla's not maintaining her
Mhm.
trail. We're not maintaining our trail. The town, of course, claims it has the right to maintain the trails. And it has a policy and a procedure that it's put in place. But then it put it on ice, right? Because the lawsuit. So you're not implementing that. You're not authorizing people to maintain the trails.
Correct.
So the trails are unmaintained, right? The wetlands have not been addressed. There's blowdown on all the trail.
Well,
I'm talking about Orchard Road and Orchard Trail and.
Let me interrupt you again, though. You say wetlands, and I think of wetlands like the swamp down in Florida. These are environmentally sensitive areas, and I think there might be a difference.
I grant you that. I mean, the other thing the planning commission said is if we go forward, after, we should look at alternatives, blah, 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 blah. We need some, with respect to these trails, and this I think was a recommendation that irrespective of the uses, we have to do something about the wetlands. We have to come up with a plan to avoid wrecking.
I just don't like you using a term that I think is incorrect.
What's that?
Wetlands.
Well,
I don't think they're wetlands.
I think technically they're wetlands, but I think if they were to be opened up, they should be addressed. But I mean, my position is, just to be very clear, that if we're right, and I think we are right, that we have the right to maintain the trails, then it is not going to be feasible to operate the trails for any public use except by the town and the landowners coming together in a collaborative and cooperative way to figure out how the trails are going to be used and how they're going to be maintained. Because if we're right, our position is the trails are just never going to be maintained. And there's no public trail in Vermont that is regularly used by the public that is simply unmaintained. Up in Orchard Trail, the trail goes to a forest of old white pine that's in the process of maturing and collapsing. And, it's going to be barricaded. And it's already got 2 big obstructions on it. There are going to be more trees. It's not, could some gorilla get through? Yeah, they could get through. Does it make sense for the public, the host recreationalists going through a trail that's not maintained? No. So, my position is let's just pass an ordinance and make it pedestrian only. Let's sit down and talk seriously about alternatives. Or third, continue the policy, the position that you just adopted, which is right now, we have a major disagreement about where the authority to maintain the trails lies, right? And that is, we're waiting for an answer from the court. In the meantime, the trails are not being maintained. And, I'm fearful that what's really going on here is the bicyclists are saying, well, okay, we haven't resolved the maintenance issue, but we'll go out and we'll bike. And if from time to time we find some branch that, obstruct us, well, we'll carefully toss it to the side.
Mhm.
And in fact, what they want to do, I think, is they want to not come to you and get lawful authority from the select board to do maintenance, but kind of do, a little informal.
You
maintenance.
shouldn't assume, John.
Hmm?
You shouldn't assume.
Well, there's no way that one could go through the trails without, in effect, doing some trail maintenance along the way.
Anyway, let's
That's
have
my-
something
that's
new to
my-
add.
So anyway, the final sort of alternative recommendation to you is you reaffirm what you agreed to last month, which is wait the resolution of the litigation, figure out whether you have the maintenance authority, let the dust settle, and when the dust has settled, then you will know what your authority is, and you can go from there. But to act prematurely is just going to cause environmental problems. It's going to lead to endless conflict because I'm maintaining my right to maintain those trails, and no private party or no town is not going to be interfering with that. And as you know, I'll defend that legal position. So I'm content to just leave things as they are. I think that's the wisest course given this controversy. I'm sorry this has taken so long. I said, this is my legal position, and George White said, bring on your litigation, bring it on. Well, okay, here you go, George.
Okay, we've heard this 6 times tonight. So we're gonna move to someone else.
You bet.
Todd had his hand up first, so
Okay.
we'll get to you.
Yeah, boy, so many places to begin, and I don't really want to speak as long. One, I can't help but say, I think it's inappropriate to discuss ongoing litigation from the plaintiff. That probably in executive, but session. But anyway, all the people that, and there are probably several on Zoom, this has been going on for almost 3 years. It was sort of precipitated by a small bike ride that I was part of in early August of just almost 3 years ago. And I came to the select board later that month after abandoning the Orchard Road and explaining to the professor who called me on the day that I was setting up the course and said, to get the signs off the trail, you have no right to bring any kind of event through here. I came to the select board shortly after that to ask for clarification after having looked at the town plan and knowing for several years as George and Janet and several other people, Scott Beavers, Matt Frost, that and there, as far as the press that's involved in listening tonight, there are reams of documents that go through all the meetings, what the planning commission recommended, what the trails committee recommended. I mean, it's more than a Dostoevsky novel for sure. Wait, anybody room. But to move on to the condition of the trails. So on the first day that the trails were open to the public, which I believe was May 30th, I made a point of taking my bike to the Orchard Road and riding down to the beginning of the legal trail, getting off of my bike. And my main goal was to look at the condition of the trail, because back then we'd had a very dry month. And things were dry. In fact, I've made some little videos and things about the condition of the trail, and I did a loop. I went through there and I went around the obstacles, and there are some issues. Those obstacles, as far as walking only, definitely pose a hazard, particularly to people that may be a little bit infirm, are not all that mobile in walking. Basically, they're not usable. But the reason all the people got together to try to have you revisit the walking only policy is not about the maintenance. We'll let the litigation go on, which may, by some parties, go on for a really long time, and maybe that's the hope. Certainly not the hope of the public users of the trails for decades here. This decision, if it just continues the way that it is, and we wait and we wait and we wait, really is unprecedented in the state of Vermont. So made it over to the crossroad, lots of challenges there. Once again, got off my bike, walked my bike, adhered to the walking policy only. The beginning part from Dead Mullen, very good to a certain point where it starts to have some blow down. The key thing there with the washout is the trail is canted at an area that if any type of use happened on that, without some future maintenance, litigated maintenance, that it would really hurt the trail for people to be using, to use that side slope. It would erode it even more. Once you get to the bottom where the last creek is there, well short of the farm property, excellent condition all the way up through there. Euclid was very happy. I remember we sat on the porch back when we did have events using the trail. I don't know what changed in Priscilla's mind and what persuasion may have been brought to bear, but certainly there are future hopes for public use of that trail, traditional non-motorized use, as we have all recognized for many, many decades. So I would hope the whole town could weigh in at a special town meeting. I think it would be wise, particularly since our attorney, Karen, and I don't want to get into the legalities, but Gary, you were kind enough to ask him the question about if we change our policy about the use of the trails, would it affect the litigation? And I believe he told you no. You go ahead and make whatever policy you want. Don't worry about that part. So just to reiterate, we're not here about the maintenance issue. We're here about the use of non-motorized, and to go through another season. And I remember last year at this time in June, I said, you know, this looks like we might wipe out this summer as far as those uses. And that's exactly what happened. And right now, based on the decision made at the last meeting, that's where we are again. I feel like it's kind of Groundhog Day. And I can't even do a good Bill Murray imitation. So that's a little bit of my piece. Thanks for listening.
All right, thanks. Sue, you're next.
Well, when you made the decision walking only, I understood that just to be an interim decision, correct? When you last, 2 weeks ago, said walking only until things get resolved.
Till further notice,
It's just an interim
Yeah.
sort of thing. Okay, so, and you know, like I said, I've been working on this for this side as well. I do have a question. It's kind of a statement and a question. How has your lives been impacted by not bringing your bikes over those trails? I mean, have you stopped riding your bikes? Have they not had a successful Ranger ride? Have they not, which has been very successful? Have you had your rides?
Are you addressing that to me?
Well, I mean, the weekends that
No,
don't
okay.
come there.
Yeah, the answer is definitely yes. Yeah, I can't get to Brocklebank without going up the Orchard Road. And that's a favorite loop that, you know, I would always do 2 or 3 times a year. It involves going over Orchard Road and across the top of the Tunbridge Stratford Road to get into Brocklebank.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's just me. And that Falls Road, you know, I don't do that very often. But you know, there's been 2 times in 3 years that I didn't ride it. There's been one time I went through Orchard Trail and I brought my bike and I walked it through all the wet sections. Which if you ask me, like if it's open to hiking, why can't I walk my bike through the wet sections? And you know, and I was yelled at for riding my bike on the road. I was
But you're
told
still riding and you still have places to ride.
there,
But
you know,
there, I'm sorry.
this is my right to ride my bike on that road. It's a town right to everybody. And, you
Well,
know,
the usage is gonna be their decision, whatever that is.
right, and
Okay.
I'm sorry, this is
Yeah.
all moot.
Okay,
I'm
all right.
Sorry to waste.
Here, another comment that I do have about this is that. Being a member of the Trails Committee and with the chair, Jonathan Bicknell, we started to try to move forward to establish both public and private access. And there's been so much negative media coverage, often slanted with some inaccuracies And I feel it's making our job harder. And it's less welcoming to maybe new residents to really, who might be otherwise willing to open their land. That's just a statement that all of this negative coverage and, in the has just made our job on the Trails Committee more difficult. And Jonathan is doing a great job and are really trying to move forward. That's it.
Thank you.
I totally agree about the negative impact of all of this and like. Do I feel bad because I like to ride my bike on trails? And why is that a problem? But so to the question of those two main connector trails, Orchard and Crossroad, they are important. And as I ride my bike, say I want to bring my car over to Bernie's to get it worked on, and I want to ride my bike home. I have to go down and come back up. I don't get to go through there. Like it, and my favorite thing is to connect dirt roads with class 4s. I just don't understand why it's such a big problem to ride my bike through. And if it's muddy, I get off my bike and I walk it. And how is that any worse than walking without a bike? I'm unclear on that. I live over on Dickerman, and the ride through Crossroad is very important to me, especially getting down to the fair and back. And I take pause with the comments about Priscilla's opinion about this, and I would like to hear from her personally, because within this personally, that is not what I've heard from her about opening her trail. So I like when you talk about her and throw her name around, I'm like, I don't agree with that. I think that you can be talking about your trail, only don't talk about somebody who's not in the room.
She was
And I
represented in
really,
the public
I
meeting.
really just think that I've been through your trail twice. Your trail, I'm sorry, I've been through the Orchard Road trail that goes past your property, which is a legal trail, twice. And I would love to do it more because it is a really good connector, and I think closing it off doesn't make sense. It's a legal trail.
Right, Amy.
Well, I hear what everyone's saying, but I think still, just so we don't get into the ping pong back and forth of opinions, I do think the reasonable solution is on the table, just to go back to the original use of these trails. And, John O'Brien has introduced legislation that is stuck because of the lawsuit. So, I think it's just going back to the original use, maybe forces the state to move forward, forces some resolution. And then at least it gets up to the legislature and there can be some legislation out there. Or it should go to the town if, it just feels too uncomfortable for the select board to kind of make a decision because there's a lot of heat around the issue. So I guess I just feel that, after all this, we've heard it all back and forth. And it's just, it's really not about one person's individual idea of a solution, because we're not trying to use one person, we're trying to kind of do what's fair for everybody. And I think if people got wind of the fact that they were going to lose rights of like throwing up the trail, you don't want to take something away that has been there for a long time without putting it to now anymore and having any legislation. So
What
Thank you.
percentage of the town do you think would show up to a town meeting on legal trails?
Well, I mean, I was just saying for myself, I don't ride a bike at all. So I'm not advocating on, for bikes necessarily. I'm just saying this is for all of us. So I think it's like a human sort of, it's something that people in Tunbridge just are used to having, and it's it's what we have, and to take it away is more than just, it's been grinding on for 3 years. It needs more input from just sort of core people who show up to discuss. I personally would hope it wouldn't have to go to the town, I mean, but
It doesn't have to go to the town, but,
if you need that support to make the decision, certainly.
well, right, I mean, but what I've thought about for a long time is we have this core group of people and a few more that are passionate about this issue. And there's 1,200 other people, 1,300 other people that either don't know about it or don't care about it. And so it's a really small percentage of people that are vocal. And maybe there's 1,000 people that if they knew about all the facts, they would be vocal as well. So, but like Mike said, you probably wouldn't get 25 people come to a special town meeting in the summertime. And so, well, it could be, my point is have like a select board meeting that is open to the public. But we probably wouldn't get 25 or 30 people, and then how much further are you ahead? Because we're gonna have, everybody here is gonna be there.
I thought the idea was that it would be on the town meeting. But I don't, maybe,
Well,
I don't know, that was what was in my head, it was
Yeah.
like a line, something we vote on.
Well, that's in March. And-
Right.
And
I mean, it's
people
later.
people are asking for a solution tonight.
Yeah, that'd be great. But if the solution is,
Or maybe Brenda has a solution.
Brenda does have a.
I don't, I feel bad for the select board, it's been put in an awkward position. And no matter what they decide to do, there's gonna be a vocal group or smaller group in town that are gonna be very upset. One of the thing I've been hearing, you're right, there's a lot of people in town who don't use these trails. And they're starting to get really concerned about it, to the point where some of them don't believe in throwing up roads, but they're even like, throw the darn thing up and be done with it. And the reason is the amount of money that's been spent and going to be spent. And you guys need to keep that in mind about taking this on like this. I think personally, I think it should go to the town on a town meeting article to help you because the amount of money being spent. We're at 14,000. We keep going a little bit further. I think of all the things we could do, or I could challenge John, since it got brought up here, to come up with a viable solution of a workaround that we can move forward with. I can throw it out there. I've always wanted to have something like that done with a single track that gets it out of his yard, but it's got to be something that's workable. If we keep going down the road where we're spending this money in a lawsuit, spending the money trying to cross wetlands, this is all going to be on me as a taxpayer. And this is going to get out to the rest of the taxpayers. And I think you're going to have to answer to them at next town meeting when they realize this. They're going to be a little upset.
I think this should go to the town.
I think it should go to the town.
Yeah, I mean, because I think Brenda's off with what she's saying, but there's the other side of the argument, and I think that. I think that when. I mean, like, where does that stop? If I want to say that you can't drive cars down the right of way that is a town right of way through my front yard, or I could say that driving trucks on the road is harmful to the environment. So anyways, I think it should go to the town and just get it voted on. And in the meantime, why not just go back to the way things have always been, since it's not, there's no risk. There's no risk to go backwards.
Michael Saka, you've had your hand up first.
Thank you. Just a few facts here. This is a public right of way. That has not changed. Another fact is that there have never been any restrictions to the use of a public right of way that I know of. I'm not sure about motorized or not, but certainly bicycles, horses, and camels were allowed on public right of ways. So those are some of the facts. Another fact is that there's a landowner purchased this land knowing that these trails were on there. And now is just obviously trying to throw a lot of money at changing the way things have been for a long time. I'm with George and Gary. I agree with you that there's, not enough people know about this, or perhaps you said it's the same number of people. But I think if more people knew about this, and in opposition to what Brenda said, I think people would care about this. I don't think I haven't heard anyone say, oh, let's throw up the road, because it's a public right of way. We cannot afford to give up anything for the public. This is what the town is there serving. So I propose, along with George and others, that this go into a public setting. And I know we've had meetings and who wants more meetings, but I think it needs to go to public info meetings and then to a vote, and that may be town meeting next year, or it could be a special town meeting if we petition it, I believe. I'm not sure on that. It may have to be per the select board at any rate, but I think it's time to get this is out a little bit more. I think that there would be some comment from the townsfolk about keeping it as it has been. Let's look at the facts. It has been a public right of way, open to people to use bikes and horses and whatever. So let's get the word out. Let's have a vote, and let's just see how the public feels about this. That's all I
Okay,
have.
thank you. Just a minute, I gotta, when does the TQ come out?
Oh, so yeah,
Yeah.
sorry, deadline's the 15th-ish. And it comes out July 1st. So good timing for that.
Yeah, well, my administrative assistant, Lori, has told me.
Oh, okay.
Like,
which one?
John, who, which one?
That,
Gotcha.
well, anyway, Lori said we need a select board, me personally, who ought to write out something for the TQ.
Sounds
Maybe
right.
something for the Herald,
Yeah,
just to explain what's going on and maybe get more eyes on this situation. And the TQ is perfect for
sounds great.
for letting people know what's going on and advising them maybe that there would be a special meeting of some sort in the future.
Okay.
With the price tag, with what we're spending.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, I mean, all the
whole-
information can go, that we can
Yeah,
compile. So I guess I would propose that the select board, or I can do it with Lori's help or whatever, write a letter or write something for the
right, an
TQ.
article, whatever,
Yeah.
yeah.
You know, just to clarify, the price tag that's associated with maintaining a right that exists, it's not, no cyclist is asking the town to spend this money because we just want to ride our bikes. That's, let's keep in view what's going on here. It's that one person says an existing right is no longer going to be allowed, so, anyways.
Right.
I think
I hear you.
technically John had his hand up. We'll give you a minute or two.
It's just two points. I appreciate Brenda's comments about finding a solution. That is not going to be found in a public forum with 40 people to varying degrees, repeating over and over again all the arguments we've had before.
Mhm.
It requires a good faith effort by a small group of people who are knowledgeable and who are interested in trying to find a solution. Sitting down, maybe with the benefit of a professional mediator or referee or something, to see if there's a way in which all the various interests can be addressed to them. No one's going to be completely happy, but can we find a solution that makes a lot of people happy? Falls Hill is its own problem, right? But there is an alternative route on Cross Road, and there's an alternative route on Orchard Road that can achieve that resolution. I think maybe there are other routes. I was invited by Priscilla to go. I'm not speaking for Priscilla now, but to go wander her property, look for alternative routes. I found my perfect alternative route. It's not hers. Let me be clear, but there is an alternative route out there, and I just urge the select board to try to think about how to initiate that kind of conversation, because that is the holy grail. That is the solution to this problem. Let me make one other thing clear, and this is a very complicated ecosystem, right? Because these are private lands, extensive private lands that are used for a whole variety of recreational purposes. I said at the beginning of this process that if the town is going to drive bicycles and adopt for the first time in its history an affirmative ordinance that says bicycles can go through our farmstead, public access to the Dodge farm is over with. Now,
It's okay.
Okay, yeah, well, you go talk to Andy Rogers, you go talk to Baxter Dowdy, and you see whether they're fine with that.
Still okay.
You know, I don't care anything about snow machines. I've never been on a snow machine. I have, my wife and I have no interest in, but we have accommodated that use, okay? But if the community, and we think we deserve a little credit for that. And if the community's attitude is, no, you know, we like the horseback riding, we like the skiing, we like the hiking, we like the snow machining. But, oh yeah, but that's great, but we want to be able to drive our bikes through your farm state, and no, we're not even gonna talk to you about alternatives. You know, as far as we're concerned, all bets are off. I don't know what Priscilla Farnham's gonna do, or Priscilla Farnham's successor in interest. See, she's got snow machines there. But I just think, to pick up on Sue's comment about what Jonathan's trying to do in the Trails Committee, which is trying to develop a cooperative ethic about access to private lands. You know, I think it's just the wrong thing to go after landowners who have been, you know, Priscilla for a lot longer than us, very generous in providing public access to land, and then trying to force a use, a particular use on that. So I just want to be clear that there's not, you know, this initiative is not costless. Let's just, you know, let the bikes go and see how you know, see how the lawsuit pans out. Because there are going to be ramifications in the recreation ecosystem here in Tunbridge if the current position is changed.
Thank you, John.
Who is suing whom here? You make it sound like the town is suing you, when in fact, you have chosen to sue the town. So when you say like, let's try to have a compromise. This is a problem you've created and sued the town, and now
The
it's.
planning commission recommended alternatives. Laura Ginsburg said, embrace the idea of trying to find alternatives. The report of the planning commission said, let's explore alternatives. That's,
These are
okay,
recommendations made to the select board.
Thank you.
yeah, it's not,
Todd, you had
Okay,
your
a
hand.
couple of quick points, a little briefer.
Yeah.
One, to answer Susan's question, I've been disturbed, not so much about my bike ride, there are lots of places to go, but by the image of the town. As the only town that is fighting this type of lawsuit, which I'm glad we're fighting. And that every other town, I've talked to 10 town officials, and early in the process of the Trails Committee, I reported my findings to Laura and to Jonathan. Laura, I'm getting her mixed up with Ann Lenny, who resigned as chair of the Trails Committee. So anyway, it's just kind of a tarnished feeling that I have about our town when it comes to legal trails and the current policy it's restricting. And somebody will say, hey, did that ever get resolved? I said, no, we're into year 3, it's going on, it could go on. So that's point number one. One, to clarify, we did thoroughly explore the only alternative trail that was offered by the professor over here. And it was pretty much consensus, other than his view, that there were more stream crossings, more wetlands crossings, more expense that would be borne. In fact, well, I won't get into who actually would have to pay for it, because that's a debate for another time. But if the town got involved with that, very expensive. Another clarification on keeping track of trails. George and other people that appreciate all the non-motorized uses, want to keep the trails active, are very interested in helping in future maintenance at no cost to the town. Volunteer labor, volunteer expense, maybe we're going to get Brenda to bake some cookies that we can sell. So that should not be used as a reason. The only cost that we're expending apparently, and I thought our insurance covered the legal expenses. I don't know about that. We're up to 14,000. That's a bummer. It's probably going to be more. I don't know why there's such a delay in getting this hearing. And then there was one final point. Just to agree to 2 things. One, it looks like we do need the public to weigh in, the sooner the better, whether it's a special town meeting. And 2, tonight to urge the select board to once again, in the interim time, since our legal counsel has told us that this will not negatively impact the current lawsuit, to open it up to the traditional uses and not keep us waiting for another entire season.
All right, thank you, Tom. Anyone else got anything to do that? Oh,
Yeah,
Right.
Derek, I just wanted to, I think at another meeting I had mentioned as far as Falls Hill goes.
Mhm.
3/10 of a mile. That there is Clay White Hill, you want access to Kelsey Mountain. What is going on with that? Why are you letting, you're not, has Cal gotten any
We sent,
information
Cal's there
from
on,
you guys?
we sent Cal a letter explaining what we proposed, and I don't know if Cal's responded to that letter or not.
No.
He's sitting right there, but I don't know if he's listening or not. But anyway, so we sent a letter to Cal
Mhm.
offering to.
Yeah, because there is a connection.
Yeah.
So,
So we're working on it,
okay.
and the Angels have said they'd be willing to work with us too.
Mhm.
All right,
Does that wrap it up?
I think so. Other than, like I said, I want to have the select board write something for the TQ by the 15th.
Okay.
And then maybe put it in the paper too, and encourage people that maybe next meeting, we could make a decision on when we might have an informational meeting or something. I don't know. And try to get more people involved. Oh, did you have your hand up? Ruby? Oh, okay. Do you want to say something anyway?
In the interim, between now and then, are you thinking that we could open it up to the use that was historically set in place? Or,
As far as I'm concerned, yes, but I don't know what Mike and John think.
There's three of you.
Here's if I was here, I can't make a number.
Okay.
Gary,
Yeah, John.
no, I just had some thoughts. Probably make everybody mad, so maybe I'm on the right road here. First of all, I think that in the interim, we should just keep it the way it is, just pedestrians only. I approve of recreators, including, bikes, horses. I'm not crazy about ATVs, but I think they certainly have a right to recreate. And so the second thing I would say is that as a municipality and our trails committee, I think we should work with those communities, and I think they should work also to come up with trails on private landowners' land, both as Brenda's saying and other people have tonight, as potential workarounds to these connector trails and other trails too. I mean, I think Tunbridge has lots of, great geography to see, and I think future trails could be built too, like we're doing on our town forest. So I support that. And I also, I think at town meeting, yeah, let's put it to a town vote, and the interim can come to an end and we'll have a policy that we'll live by. But I think, a lot of things tonight that have been said have also, I think are half facts, right? It's our town right away, but municipalities have had, the select boards have the power to really to restrict who's on town right of ways. It's not like there's a 200-year-old bikers right of way to use every right of way in town. We limit roads, even class 3 and class 4, to all sorts of things when we post them, or close them or whatever. I think that's, I don't see that it's a horse riders right away or a bike riders right away, through history to use our legal trails. And I don't even know if legal trails aren't the same as roads exactly. So there's sort of a special category. And then on the other side, I think as far as maintenance goes, for John, that if the town has a right to have a right of way, to set one up or to keep it on the maps, it would by default, I think, mean that it has a right, it has the authority to maintain it or not. So I think ultimately it would come down that it's somewhat of a shared responsibility to maintain that right of way or that road, because right, even on our own land here, if a tree falls and it's in the way of us getting, using Orchard Trail to get to our hayfield, we have a right to cut that tree up. So, but I think the town also, if us as a select board decided we want our legal trails to be somewhat passable to pedestrians or whoever, we have a right to do that too. So I don't think it's one side or the other, really. I think ultimately it'll be a shared responsibility, sort of what we've talked about on class 4. You know, you can, if you apply to the select board and you have, we give you a permit, go ahead and improve it. But you can't just go out there and do it sort of freestyle. You know, I think that VAST and VIMBA, the Vermont Mountain Bikers Association, have done great jobs working with landowners on creating trails for recreators. And I would hope that, you know, the ATV community and the bike community, maybe the horse community would use them as examples so that they would work with landowners, you know, start an organization, work with landowners. It's not like VIMBA's come to every select board and said, you know, crying that they can't use, you know, a class 4 or a legal trail in town. They've gone out and created their own trails. Just like when, you know, I think it was Bob Child said we couldn't use his land for VAST, then VAST figured out a workaround and we helped them. And I think we'll do the same for the biking community or the horse community or potentially even the ATV community. It's just, it's not a given that they get to use all the municipal right of ways all the time. So that's my feeling. I probably ticked everybody off, but I think we'll let everybody decide, you know, let democracy take its course at town meeting.
And I have just a quick question for you. And I think that might help just help everybody feel better in having a little bit of understanding of why, what is your reasoning for saying that what would be a reasoning for not including bicycles, horses, and camels on the legal town trails? You say that it's not an inherent right, and that's true. The select board can decide whatever they want to. But what makes you say we should not use that trail for bicycles if they could just, you know, pick it up and walk it through the wet areas? Or, you know, why not continue traditional uses? What reason do you have for a legal trail that's only open to hikers?
I think, George, just it's going to get increasingly tricky with technology to figure this out. And so, you know, when you say no motorized with electric motors coming, like, where do you start drawing the line? So pedestrian is pretty clear what it is. So I do not have a problem with someone, you know, walking their bike or a horse or whatever, you know, as long as you're a pedestrian. I think that when you start getting into, is it fossil fuel burning engines we're talking here, or is it you know, pedal assist motors? Is it ATVs that are electric? Is it you know, I don't know. It gets really complicated, and I can see our ordinances or policies having to change. And so I think if there's a bright line, I think this would be the place to do it. And but I'm not, you know, I'm not anti-bikes using. I think bike trails are great. It's just that I think when you look at some other towns like Stratford, I think there's sort of designated trails for those communities as opposed to hikers, pedestrians.
It's true, but I think no motorized vehicles pretty much says it all. It doesn't matter what fuel. It's a very clear line that is, you know, that's assisted travel. A motor is a motor no matter what runs it. So it seems like a clear, easy to understand line. So I guess it just leaves me wondering. Yeah. All right.
Well, I
thank you.
think, George, if, you know, that's saying that you with a traditional mountain bike can ride the Orchard Road, but Mariah, if she has a pedal assist with Dove riding behind her, can't. And is it the tires? You know, why do we penalize Mariah for, you know, having a pedal assist, or somebody maybe with a handicap?
Because that's what the original language is.
Yeah.
And
Anyway.
that is the language.
Michael Soccer, do you have your hand up, or is that an old hand?
It is indeed up. I just, and John, thank you for your thoughts. I think that they are wide ranging, and you're giving a good try to, you know, get a lot of information out there. And probably, yes, if you're pissing a lot of people off, then that's a good thing. But you mentioned democracy, and it's true, the select board has the right to decide these things, but I would think the select board would also, because you're elected officials, be somewhat sensitive to what townspeople thought, in terms of how you decide these things. I think that's the idea of democracy. So, so please consider that in your discussions and your voting, if it comes to that. I do have a question for Mariah. I believe it's for Mariah. Is it possible through petition to have the public, call for a meeting? Not that we're going to go that way necessarily, but is that a possibility for townspeople to put a petition together to the select board and call for a meeting?
I mean, they could petition to call for a meeting, but it would most likely just be, it wouldn't be anything binding, I don't believe. You could have a petition to have a meeting, to have like what we're talking about, having, an open discussion as townspeople. But we wouldn't.
Including a vote that might be a non-binding, but a vote?
We wouldn't be able to do we wouldn't be able to do a vote by Australian ballot, like a paper vote, because we are not an Australian ballot town. So it would have to be a voice vote. And I don't believe, I'll have to check with VLTC if it would be something that the town could start and bypass the select board, is basically what you're saying. The town would call for the meeting, the town would call for the vote. I would have to see the specifics on that, but.
Well, I mean, I know, and John was part of this, so he remembers, I'm sure, that with the ABC, we did have a non-binding vote. That was at town meeting regarding New Vistas. And if you recall, it was overwhelmingly against supporting that project. But that there is some precedent or some recent.
We could certainly have like a.
Happened.
Yeah, we could certainly have, if you had a vote, even if it was by paper, although it wouldn't be binding, it could be like the consensus was this, and then it would still be in the hands of the select board to make that decision. If you wanted to have a binding paper ballot, we would have to, at a special town meeting, vote to go to Australian ballot, and then have that Australian ballot be approved by the townspeople to then go forward with that.
Yeah,
But we could just do like a vote voice, just non-binding consensus.
Yeah, I think, that, so if you could get back to me somehow about the petition process for that,
Sure.
because that may be an interim step, just to, I think it might move things along instead of waiting till next March when, as we know, by the way, that Mr. Chevrier has pledged practically, what I've heard, he has $50,000 to spend at this. So Brenda, you may want to turn to that person on your left and ask them why they're spending that much money. But anyway, I don't think
I need to.
I don't think we should actually bend to anybody's wishes, like bail at this point, because somebody has more money than the town has. It's better to be right, as we all know. So that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael.
Could I ask Mariah just a real quick question?
Sure.
Clarification? So whatever policy for legal trails, the one that's currently in place, maybe there's still one vote to be heard from here tonight. Is that enforceable by the town?
I mean, we don't have like a police department, we don't have anything to, anybody to enforce it.
Going back to what we heard earlier.
Yeah, so I mean, we have nobody to enforce it. Policies are less enforceable than ordinances. Yeah, I think that's
all.
that's the
Just
answer.
wanted clarity.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, Amy's ready to leave. You want to say anything, Mike, or you're done? Yeah, that Mike.
As far as I'm concerned, we can go along like it used to be. I mean, I don't care. I don't care if ATVs drive on them.
Yeah.
But that's my own personal thing.
Is that a 2-to-1 vote?
Well,
or-
we need a motion.
Well, yeah, it's not a 2-in-1 vote, we aren't voting.
It's nothing yet.
It's
someone-
nothing yet, it's conversation.
Someone would need to make a motion. And if no one wants to make a motion, that's okay.
Does that have to be a select board member to make a motion?
I wondered that.
I don't know.
It needs to be voted on by the majority of the select board, so regardless of who made it, but I do
It'd be
believe,
different.
yeah,
I don't,
I think it has to be made by the select board, yeah,
we'd have to have a quorum to vote and.
yeah, exactly.
Just, you can't be part of the quorum, Joyce. I'm sorry.
I'm sitting in for John.
Huh.
All right.
So anyway, not trying to sidetrack or get away from it, but I will, with Lori's help, write something for the TQ and try to inform more people and get more people involved.
Great, and also I would ask that, so this is a tough environment to do this kind of thing in, but your 3 select board members, I don't see any, if you all have feelings about what should happen on trails, I would like to ask you guys to please vote next time that you meet.
Yeah.
On changing this recommendation.
Okay,
That would be appreciated, and also, we of course appreciate everything that you do.
I think that's reasonable, and I think that would give us 2 more weeks to put off the inevitable
Put it off.
or make up our minds.
Yeah, great, thank you.
Okay,
We really appreciate that.
all right,
Jonathan Bicknell is in the woods of, is he in Maine, Brenda?
yes. Mount
Yeah.
Katahdin.
Yes.
Yeah.
But he did say that he is willing to make any sort of concise documents to send out to the public.
Okay.
He would do whatever in the way of the Trails Committee chair.
Yep.
So you can task him with
Okay,
those things.
he's coming back when?
Shoot, couple days.
He didn't tell me that. He was still out of breath from our.
From his running up and down the road.
Oh, but he won't make the deadline for the TQ.
No. Yeah, you'll have to write it for the TQ, but moving forward.
Okay,
I'm sorry. Can I just
Yes,
ask a
Janet.
question? So the consensus of this evening, as far as going forward between now and the potential town vote or whatever comes forward, seemed like maybe. So is there no way to have a vote on what's happening with the trails between now and then tonight?
We just,
We're putting it off for 2 more weeks,
For 2 more weeks.
because even though we just spent, what time is it?
It's
Maybe that clock has a glare, I can't tell. We
It's
just spent
wrong.
an hour and 5 minutes on it tonight, like, can we just vote on it? Or no, we should just,
Janet,
I don't know.
Janet. Janet,
Yes, please help me, I like to get your skits.
there's 1,200 people in town, we've heard from 20.
So between now and 2 weeks from now. we're gonna
No,
hear
we're not
from-
saying that, but everybody keeps pushing us to say what the town. Decide what the town wants, and we don't hear from anybody
Oh,
except for
sorry.
you. Guys, people,
So I wasn't, sorry, I wasn't trying to push for a final decision. I was just trying to push for that interim moment decision between now and then, like Gary is gonna write the thing for the TQ and I know that the final decision is getting put off, but the interim idea of going back to what we had before was on the table a minute ago and then it went away. So I just,
When again does the TQ come out? What date?
July 1st.
June 1st.
So I mean, I guess, so I'm sorry, I was unclear. I wasn't trying to push for like a final decision right now. I was just hoping to get the, like, can we just go back to the way it was until the final decision? Because it seemed like we had a 2-to-1, yes. But,
Don't push your luck there.
okay.
Just one final thing before they all run out. Gary asked me to change the signs over. And I apologize, I was a day late getting out there and someone took them all down. If they could return them to the town, so we don't have to reprint next spring.
Oh, man.
Took down the signs that say trail closed or walk.
Yeah.
Only.
Yeah, they disappeared with them.
Huh,
Someone took it upon themselves.
Oh,
I
So-
noticed one that had fallen down, and I noticed that they.
Do you know where it is? Cause I looked all around
I
and
think it was the one at Falls Hill was on the ground, and I think the one on the other side of Priscilla's barn had also fallen over.
I
Now,
looked,
maybe it got removed, but that's what I noticed.
yeah, yeah, yours were off. Yours were off sooner, cause I did put it up over there. Anyways, just, it's not a lot of money, but some of us had to go get it printed and then put it up.
$60 or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's still a cost to the town, so it doesn't bode well if we start to use signage to help.
So will the Trails Committee be putting up those signs?
No, there was select board asked,
Ask you particularly,
yes,
a
because they
non-Trails.
knew I was
Okay.
just sort of a sucker
Okay,
retired.
Just clarify.
They didn't want me baking cookies to raise money.
She's gonna go for.
So the statute on special meetings is that it can be placed by the select board at any time, or it can be done by petition. Petitions for special meetings may be turned into the town clerk at any time and must contain signatures of 5% of the voters. Once found to conform, a special meeting shall be warned within 60 days of the receipt of the petition.
And what's the minimum? Is it 30 days minimum?
60 days, it's gotta be within 60 days of the receipt of the petition.
But you have to warn it 30 days ahead, don't you, of the meeting?
That.
Regular town
No,
meeting's
it's
45.
special meeting,
I don't know what.
I have to. Have that with. I don't think we spent them in 24 hours ago,
Oh, 24, okay.
if I recall. I think that's right.
Yeah, so say we got a petition by next select board meeting, we could technically have a special meeting in 10 days.
No, it was the petition would need to be submitted, found conforming, and 60, it has to be within
Yeah,
60 days.
Don't confuse special select board meetings and special town meetings.
right,
Special select board meeting can be 24 hours,
right.
but there's something like a 30-day warning, public hearing, and then like 40 to 60 days or something. I don't know. the
Yeah.
details.
Right, that's what I thought.
Yeah,
Yeah, you wanna bring in more than just.
Yeah.
It's gonna come.
Yeah.
Somebody at town.
All right, unless somebody else has something new to say, we're gonna move on.
Thank you.
Pressure walk.
Thank you, guys.
pressure walk. Never wanted to talk about
Make it
pressure walk
funny.
anymore.
Thank you, George.
Do you want to jump ahead and get your signatures you need so that you can,
Sure, if they have any questions, that'd be
We can
great.
adjust the schedule.
um.
You get rid of John.
What she want?
I want.
Do you want signatures so that we can get the, no, John's right here. There he is.
We're starting to get the generator,
Oh, yeah.
the propane tank and the radios.
Thought we said that was all right.
We
Yeah,
did, but
but-
this needs signatures on the paper.
I have to, so I've been trying to get it going. And just each one of these companies wants like 50% up front to start, and then they'll give me a date to meet down here.
Okay.
Did you get my large napkin?
I don't need one. I'm
You know, I
not
forgot
messy.
napkins.
Steve.
She's been drooling. for
I'm
now.
so hungry for this.
Well, I knew you'd need.
This
sugar
is not-
before this night was over.
It just sat here and stared at me.
So you want to make a motion that I sign this contract?
I make a motion that Gary signed the contract for the propane and the generator.
Yeah.
Yes, the tank, the generator, and I don't know what the radio company wants yet. But they both, if you look at it, one of them wants $4,000
Well,
to
This is just,
start, and the other one wants 2,000 something. It's
this is just Gillespie Fuel here.
Yeah, these
Yeah.
both must be. fuel.
Same thing.
That's,
It
but
should-
that's the start from Becky.
But it should also be, Brookfield should be there somewhere with the 4,000.
Maybe it's somewhere else, but it's not right here.
Not there.
She's supposed to put it all together. So I don't have to,
Anyway, Mike made a motion.
I make a motion that Gary sign the contracts with Gillespie Fuels to install a tank and put propane in it.
Mariah, maybe because you signed the 4,000 for Brookfield generators,
Yeah, probably.
that
Yeah.
might
you
be
did.
where that goes
I remember
forward.
that.
I signed it.
So that might be the answer why she
Didn't include it. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Do you want to second that motion, John?
I second it.
Okay, all in favor of me signing the Gillespie contract, say aye.
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 Here goes.
On the same topic, we also got, we have 2 bids for the electrical for inside here in order to get the generator done. We got one from Brookfield Solar. That was hold on,
Who's Brookfield Solar?
They're the ones putting the generator in. And
2,400.
Brookfield Services?
Yeah, that one.
yeah, they're
sorry.
Brookfield generators. They
Yeah.
seem to have a couple of names.
They're not-
They're located in Norwich. That really throws me off.
So they're the ones who are doing all the service and installation.
So
For-
Brookfield Generators
Brookfield
Yeah.
Services,
Service.
Yeah.
Oh,
Here,
they're
you wanna
from-
see it?
They're from North.
Northfield, not Norwich.
Oh, this
Yeah.
was the one that I
Yes.
signed.
Yes.
Norwich,
right.
Norwich
This
has
Solar
already
from
been sent.
Brookfield.
Right.
Okay, so we're getting the generator from Brookfield Service.
Yes.
Okay,
And they sent down their electrician separately with that. And that was a recommendation that Simon said.
Yes.
He said, when looking at it, he said it's kind of squirrely down there and you should at least upgrade that leg.
Oh, in the basement here, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
So we got a quote from them for $2,454. And Simon had given us an estimate, although he said he doesn't want to do the work, but
Mhm.
here's an estimate just. For $3,200.
Wow.
So.
I just put in an estimate, I know now.
So
Next
anyways,
time.
Because- I can either put out for one more estimate, so we have 3,
Mhm.
or because Brookfield Service is already doing the work, why not just let them continue to do the work in the electrical basement?
As long as that's legal for our funding sources and all.
One of the things that we found out, I cornered Simon to get more names and he said everybody he knows for electricians are out straight. And he didn't feel comfortable giving, he didn't know if anybody would be available, if it's just something to keep in the back of your mind.
Yeah.
What was Simon's bid?
3,200.
Yeah.
Brookfield's the cheapest of it.
So Brookfield.
Right,
All right. You want Kate?
you want to make a motion to
I-
go with
Sorry,
Brookfield?
we're all out.
I hate to start on that stuff because that is wicked good.
If you leave, you won't have any more.
I was
I
gonna
know.
say. There's 3 pieces
It's
left.
very, I love peanut butter. anyways.
John, you're missing out. He shakes his head.
Yeah. Peanut butter chocolate
That's-
cake.
yeah. This is my.
We ran out of forks, so.
Huh,
I thought I gave enough. But I didn't have one for me because I was trying to watch.
where'd that one go? Robert Childs must have taken it home.
The fork.
No, I thought there was one there.
Then Robert, pilfered it full.
Darn
I can get
Robert.
you a fork. We have a fork.
Here.
Hold on.
You are being recorded.
Did you want to make a motion, Mike, or finish your motion?
I make a motion that we retain Brookfield Services to upgrade the electrical while they're hooking up the generator.
Right. Would you like to second that, John?
I second that motion.
All right, he's shaking his head, yes. All in favor of hiring Brookfield Services to upgrade our electrical in the basement of the town office, please say aye.
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 Thank you.
What else you got for us?
Just the pressure washing. There's in your packet. There's 3 different estimates.
Also, you got the trail stuff.
No, all that's behind that. I thought I printed off in case you hadn't read it enough.
Vermont Liquor Department,
Oh, not that one either.
town nurse,
Not that one. It's in between.
stainless steel laundry sink,
No, keep going.
Jesus.
You're getting closer.
liability insurance.
Yep, that goes with it. Go to one more.
How come I don't have all this?
You do.
You
We're
just
gonna
gotta
get
get
there.
past the trail.
He's going backwards. You're going forward.
Oh,
J. Andrews Painting, Tunbridge. Oh, ship to Bethel, okay. And JC Soft Wash.
Logan's property maintenance. Jared, yeah, JC Soft Wash and J Andrews Painting are the three that we got.
Oh, what's Logan's? 500?
Yeah,
Even,
Wow. What's Soft Wash? 650,
760.
760. Well, I guess I make a motion, we go with Logan.
Well, what did he offer? Did he offer the same thing as the other people do?
Commercial power wash on a trailer, 3-stage cleaning procedure.
Fully insured.
All plants will be cared for. And if they damage the plant, they'll replace it.
that was. Who said that?
Place from Williamstown. Soft wash.
All plants will be cared for. Wow.
Well, that seems,
Did we ever get? One thing I never heard of, except for maybe in passing conversation, is power washing potentially can, force water up into, the insides of buildings.
Yeah.
And so it'd be nice for us at some point maybe to hear just how that's avoided, or, if there's a difference between, one power washer company and another. If we get references, or I don't know how that works. It's just a concern of mine.
right. I agree. I power washed part of our house. And I was just careful not to I don't think, spray it at an angle that I thought would force the water in, but I don't know if we
Right.
did.
Outside faucet, yeah.
I think so. Don't we have outside water spigot? Did you check?
I
that?
don't know, I didn't check on that.
Because this outfit from Soft Wash, they need an outside faucet.
Might be one out back. I don't know.
But Logan says preferred water source, but not needed.
Correct.
He'll bring his own water.
You can run a hose from your house.
You know what? I already run to other people's houses, so might as well.
Yeah, we should have asked Todd while he was here, because he seems to be knowledgeable about that stuff, whether we should be careful or,
Yeah, I think I remember he said use some caution,
Yeah.
because they're, like you said, you could leave streaks.
well, not only that, but you could come up underneath the clapboards
Right.
and force the water up in
Right.
there and cause damage,
The
And then-
outfit,
$150 difference, you get someone's
right?
the
covering
outfit.
themselves.
The Soft Wash one says that they will return to fix any spots that are not to our satisfaction.
That seems to be a more thorough bid, though.
Yeah,
I mean, there's a lot more to it than.
yeah,
than
Which
this.
one? The 765?
yeah.
Yeah.
You
Do
wanna
they
that?
also have any references or recommendations?
No.
They don't, but he came here. He was the only person, I mean, that I know of, who came here and looked at the property. He called me to set up a time to come look at it, and I said, you can just come whenever, here's the address. Then he submitted the bid, and he also included his certificate of liability insurance, so he seems like pretty on top of
Do
it.
you know him?
I don't know any of these people.
That's Soft Wash?
No,
or
that's-
Jay Andrews, yeah,
I know, yeah, Jay, Sally, who the heck's Jay?
that's somebody you know,
No, I don't know any of these people, and they don't know me, because,
he's from Bethel.
yeah.
No,
Ooh,
Jay Andrews Painting,
Let's look him up.
if he's a good painter, he wouldn't have
He has a-
time to Soft Wash.
Maybe that's not true. Maybe he has a lot of people on his crew.
well, that could be too.
He has a whole website. Let's see what it looks like.
Boy, is he giving us a 10% discount.
He likes us.
You can't like Mariah, because she didn't even show up to meet him.
I didn't, I said,
Obviously
do it
thought she was
yourself.
Somebody else. She's looking for Mariah Sally.
She showed up tonight.
Who did? I did,
You did.
But she knew you baked a cake.
I did.
This would be the night that I.
Brenda said she was coming down with goodies and I said, I'll be there.
Figured you guys needed a sugar hit tonight.
I'm gonna have another piece of cake, so don't worry.
You want none of
No,
this thing?
no, just peanut butter frosting.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brenda.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
Thanks,
Brenda.
Brenda.
Welcome. I'm sorry you didn't get to try the chocolate with the
I'll
peanut
take
butter
the break.
frosting.
I know, but the eclair was pretty good, or whatever it was.
The croissant.
Good.
Is it from
Croissant.
Mirabelle's? Is that what that is?
Gotta be
Well,
Mirabelle's? Other side, other side.
very demanding.
Klinger,
Clinger.
Flingers.
Corporal Klinger, chocolate croissant, it's got Cabot butter.
I think that you can warm those up too in the oven.
Huh, where's it made? It'll say
It
something.
doesn't say, they
Okay.
don't want you to know.
Made by Brenda Field.
Warm at 300 for 4 minutes.
Do you go to Windy Lane Bakery often?
No,
Oh, that was very definite now. He's been there once and he's a scorned man.
guy brought me in a sticky bun once and it was as good as anything you could get up to Rankers. My wife got me a maple eclair, that was very good. So I'm 50-50.
What about Weebird? Do you frequent Weebird?
Hmm?
Weebird Bagel Cafe, do you go there often?
No,
Where's that?
That's
you know,
where the co-op used to be in Randolph.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
I want to burst your thoughts about me, but
And
I
then
don't wander around town that way.
every time I'm in
I-
Randolph, I see you.
You do not.
I
liar.
swear to God. No, I've only seen you once. I was pulling out from somewhere and there goes Mr. McFeatress with his
No,
window down, just singing songs, happy as can be.
That's me,
happy as a lark.
that's me.
All right, do you want to make a decision on,
I think, I don't know. I'm to go with the 651, but
If you're fully insured, does that mean if they do damage to our building, their insurance will fix it? Oh, we
Yeah.
like that.
I think we don't require insurance anyway.
We do,
Yeah.
but did this other guy say he was insured as well? 650?
I believe so.
Yeah, fully insured.
Everybody
Yeah,
said they're fully insured.
good.
Yeah, remove the air conditioner.
I can do that.
What do you think here?
Well, should we double check if we have a faucet before we have this guy come? Because he needs to have a faucet. I'll go do a job.
Well, one of them doesn't say anything. So does he bring his water with him?
I mean, I would think so.
Need a flashlight?
It's not that dark, is it? Okay, I'll be back. I'll bring my phone in case I get
Yeah.
lost.
Yeah,
What are the price differences?
650,
500,
500,
765.
650 and 765.
I mean,
I'd like to.
I like the guy who came and actually looked at the building too.
The 765 guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That we know of.
Right, the other guys could have popped in and not,
The other guys could have come.
could have Google searched it or whatever, Google mapped it, whatever that's called. I guess we're waiting on a faucet report and then we'll make up our minds.
Yeah. These are pretty good, aren't they?
Yeah. Flaky. Gonna ruin my supper though.
Oh, really? We have separate
I don't know, yeah.
chocolate cake, peanut butter frosting.
And then Claire,
You want cheese?
yeah,
I brought cheese, but we kind of get off
cheese goes good with chocolate.
we got kind of get off the subject.
We definitely have one.
We have
And I turned it on and it works.
cold water. Ooh,
I'll eat that. Horseradish.
all right. Do you have a preference, John?
Just from what I've heard, I like actually the most expensive guy, just because he seemed to, have good attention to detail.
Yep. I think so too.
Okay, I make a motion.
It's not that much money either.
We go with J Andrews Painting LLC to, is that right?
Yeah.
To pressure wash the building for $765.
And he'll come back if we're not happy.
He didn't say that, but that was the middle person.
Oh, okay. All right, I second that motion.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Right,
Aye.
Aye.
All right, you should send it J Andrews Painting LLC a note.
Oh, well.
get on it.
I will.
Yeah, they have faucet.
We have a faucet for you.
So what's the sink thing?
So the sink thing is now. I found a cheaper sink, not a $500 sink, only a $199 sink. For the bathroom, so that Judy can have a mop bucket
Put a
underneath,
bucket.
And
and
that's
not,
just,
yes, and not use a cup.
and does this faucet swing around?
I think
Is it
so,
pivot?
yeah, it looks like it does.
Yeah. They're handy that way. Then you can put
Yeah.
your bucket in there and then swing it over.
Yeah, and Mike Howe said he would do all the work and install it and do all that. He came in here and I talked to him
Yeah.
about it, so.
And it will it fit in what's there? I didn't pay attention. what's
I
in there,
think
or
so, because
is
the bigger ones that they were looking at wider ones.
Mhm.
There's a handicap rail on the back of the toilet. They don't know why it's on the back, so there's a handicap rail like on the back of the
So
toilet.
you
There's
pull
one
it
on the
up.
side, but there's one on the back. So they were gonna take that down because that's not where it's supposed to go.
Depends on how you approach that.
Yeah. Now, does this thing come with the cabinet or does it?
No,
sink
it's
itself?
it's the cabinet, storage cabinet and faucet.
Oh, for
yeah.
$199?
Yeah, yeah.
What a deal, I bet it's high quality.
I've been, it might not be, but it's probably better than the 1921 we got in there right now.
I bet it's imported too.
What are you trying to say?
Just saying,
1920.
changes is a good thing sometimes.
What are you trying to say?
Okay, 100 years. Oh, man, I got-
Read between the
can't hold
lines,
my
Mike.
pants.
We're taking a historic toilet out. We might run into difficulties there.
What is that?
Yeah, I know.
That's kind of a waste, man.
On my clean pants.
I need no cake off your pants, I'll tell you
What other,
that. Babe,
what other business do you have for us?
I have 2 liquor licenses that need approval.
For what?
One is in there for you. There's one for a wedding up at Land Goes Farm on June 24th.
That's Babe Bar.
And then Babe's Bar has one for, I think, at the fairgrounds.
No, it said Babe Bar. Oh, the two different ones, we staple them together.
No, that's
No.
double-sided.
Babe's Bar going to Land Goes.
Are they both at Land Goes then? What date is that one? July 1st. Yeah, so 2 different weddings for Land Goes. One is June 24th and one is July 1st. This is the other one. I just got it. It's not in your packet.
Oh, no wonder I can't find it.
No wonder I can't find it.
It's right here.
Who's that for?
This was for Bevo LLC.
Is it John's place? You
Yeah,
know?
they're both at John's place.
Is this Bevel any good, John?
I don't know. I didn't, that's what I wanted to ask. Who was doing that one? I don't know.
Be good.
Where are they from, Mariah?
Old
Colchester.
Oh, wow.
Kathleen Stein runs the show.
Is it a swanky wedding?
I don't know.
Yeah. We can do that.
I'm picking on John.
So what are our thoughts
Oh,
on?
I make a motion that we sign the liquor licenses,
Or she does.
that Mariah signs the liquor licenses.
I second that.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
All right,
Aye.
Aye.
What about the sink? What are our thoughts on the sink?
oh, I make a motion, we purchase the North Korean sink. For how much?
$199.
$199.
From Home
I
Depot.
second that.
Okay, all in favor of buying a North Korean sink, say aye.
All right,
Aye.
I'm gonna have to
Uh,
take this video off of offline too, because people are gonna.
We like buying stuff from North Korea. They
Mm.
deserve our business.
yes.
I didn't know we did a lot of business with North Korea.
Not yet.
We're pioneers.
That's where our next town.
As goes
partner is from.
Tunbridge, so goes the US.
Yeah, she was over on a missile.
I was telling a lady that was at Lori's Barn today that you can go anywhere in the world if you start in Tunbridge.
You
She
can,
believed me too.
you can. Sometimes it's a little chore, but
Yeah.
you can,
But you gotta start somewhere.
might just go to Tunbridge.
West Tunbridge even. But from West Tunbridge, you have to come over here first, then start.
I don't, would rather Jonathan Bicknell than come over to West Tunbridge anymore.
Be wreak havoc.
Yeah, putting that on, taking down something. Tooting his horn, waving.
Really,
Hmm,
kind of an unsavory character.
yeah,
And then my last other business thing, Judy Howe wanted to know if we should get new, they changed the keypad for the town hall, obviously.
Yeah,
But should we get new keys made as well that say like do not duplicate on them, that type of thing? So that, because who knows how many keys people
I
have.
would think so.
Okay,
Have her get whatever, 6 keys or whatever she
Yeah.
thinks she needs,
Yeah.
and then 2 keys, whatever.
are these minutes,
those are all have been approved previously by you, I mean minus this one.
okay,
All these have had the errors fixed, they just need signatures on them now.
okay. That's what she's telling us,
Well,
that all the errors are fixed.
why were there errors?
I'm just a person.
It's a human being.
I've never had this horseradish cheese before, but it's pretty
It
good.
is.
Is it?
Uh-huh.
You cut some for the rest of us?
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
What kind of cheese?
Horseradish, Cabot
yeah.
horseradish cheese.
That's good.
Mhm.
Yes, it is. She doesn't share, John.
Well, at least on Zoom, it looks like she's holding the rest of the select board at knife point, but that's just what it looks like online.
Gonna leave the paper tomorrow.
Was that from the Valley News?
I don't know, he didn't identify himself.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he should have. How are you're gonna just say somebody we think he's from the Valley News? Or wait till the article comes
Oh,
out?
that was from the Valley News?
Inconspicuous Valley News
I
man.
think the New York Times.
Yeah.
So John, I'm going over the minutes right now, and Mike's gonna
Okay.
go over the other stuff,
Budget status report.
and Mariah's just gonna eat more cheese.
Yeah, my work here is done.
And then can you leave that then on the table, Gary, or something? I could come in and sign it or look it over? Or is it
Sure.
online? Is that online, Mariah?
Those minutes are online. They're the May 23rd minutes.
Oh, I can look at them right now.
Yeah.
Oh, whatever happened to the transfer station attendant?
There's an ad out currently.
Yeah, I told Mariah to put an ad out, and she sent me an email. I don't know if she sent you an email or not.
Did, yeah,
Yeah, I did.
I know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Did
Anyway.
you, him, yeah?
No.
Mike, yeah?
No,
Okay,
no, we're waiting for someone else to offer to work there.
okay,
Maybe Bill Cameron, your neighbor, would want.
yeah, all right. Take everything home.
It's okay. End up in West Tunbridge.
Oh, thanks.
I like this. Hoyt can't find a truck that will accept a home.
I Googled the phone spelling, make sure I spelled it right.
Who can't?
Hoyt,
Wait,
Oh,
wait, cannot find a truck.
the one that was ordered will not fit.
That's what they're telling me.
And that's not actually correct. The truck won't accept the home. It's not that it won't fit.
Well, it's not compatible, okay?
The
That's what I
one-
was trying to say.
the phone that we wanted to buy is no longer available.
Does
So the
North
new
Korea have a
phone
home
is
available?
gonna-
Maybe, I gotta check that. Can you Google it right now?
No, North Korean home.
Oh, I didn't think to ask Rodney's Thomas's truck ever come back.
Oh, so your point, do you know?
I don't know whose truck is whose.
Four-wheel drive to home.
That has,
My bad.
that has accepted a home.
That has a home.
Phew. Highway department really,
Gary,
Yeah.
we should probably write after his long recovery from shoulder surgery.
No, I haven't got that far yet.
Oh, okay.
We're way faster reader than
Oh,
I.
you're reading it right now.
Isn't that what it says? Hoyt would also like to return to work after his long recovery from shoulder surgery.
Says of shoulder surgery. God, it's like a tongue twister.
Yeah, from,
from,
from. Is that what you want, the word from instead of?
I would love from,
After recovery after shoulder surgery. Can't even say it.
after his long recovery from shoulder surgery.
Strike that word. I'll try to read faster now.
That's good cheese. That might be my new favorite.
We should probably put something that Mike Heb is from Stratford.
Stratford resident.
And then it says that if you need a written contract, it's not the right landowner fit. We need a apostrophe for it's. And then VLCT also suggests that needs an S there, right? See that, Gary?
What? Oh, it suggests, yes. I'm not good at those big words.
So Mariah, nothing back from Cal or Nate Stearns?
Mm-mm.
and
And
Cal
he
on
was on tonight and
something
didn't
too.
comment at all.
Yeah.
But here, angels shouldn't have apostrophe, is that correct? Down lower,
On Angel's property?
it says McFeeters talked to angels about a yearly
Right.
contract. It shouldn't have an apostrophe.
That's right.
It shouldn't.
It shouldn't, because it's not,
possessive.
see, I got that right too.
What did he say?
It's not possessive.
Oh,
It's like my Beatrice's Farm All Fix should have an apostrophe S, but
what is that English up there?
did you look into an event permit? Notify users of trails,
I haven't yet because of what's,
the ongoing controversy.
yeah, I figured I would wait until we had a little bit more idea of what we wanted to do exactly with that. Cause I could write one, but then we'd sit on it. Or
Well, I like an event permit if it involved like Brocklebank Brewing or something like that.
if it involves beer,
Yeah.
I will write an event permit.
Now, the ranger didn't use any legal trails, did they?
No,
I didn't think so.
I bought a hard kombucha at the co-op today.
why?
He was lucky.
I'm gonna try it when I get home. I've never had it before.
Oh, that's all.
You don't like kombucha,
I don't
okay,
like
well.
Like it's hard enough, I suppose. What's the alcohol in it?
I don't know, I didn't look.
Yeah.
I don't think it can't have been too much, because I bought just like one can and it wasn't super expensive.
Yeah. I don't like any of that hard stuff, even like a twisted tea.
I-
it just
I don't
doesn't
like,
go.
that's too much sugar.
I think they got that kombucha. I think I saw that down the East End off store.
I think so.
Do you like ciders or you're just a
Like
beer guy?
ciders.
Yeah.
I like that citizen cider.
That's what Deb just got too. He mowed the lawn, our giant lawn and drank one.
Really? He didn't cut his feet off.
No, he survived it.
I wonder if it's natural fermentation, just the way,
The kombucha?
yeah,
Yeah, because
Or-
kombucha is naturally has alcohol in it, but like.
as
if you buy-
fermentation.
Yeah, but if you buy like a regular kombucha at the store, like they have to like certify that the alcohol's been extracted from it.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Cause I bought one not knowing what it was and I opened it up and tasted it. I thought that thing is spoiled. I better take it back.
No, that's what, it's fermented tea,
It's like
right?
having
Is it a
orange,
tea?
Supposed to be spoiled.
well, it's like having orange juice that's been in the fridge too
Yeah.
long.
I feel like isn't like kimchi similar, like to something like that? Isn't it like really like,
I don't
Well,
know.
they're fermented, super fermented,
yeah.
Yeah.
You just gotta get the right
but that's
stuff.
it's interesting that kombucha then is almost like a non-alcoholic beer.
Yeah, it is.
Right, yeah, they have to take the alcohol out somehow.
I would assume it's gonna taste the same, like as like a regular kombucha would taste. I'll let you know, TBD.
The way non-alcoholic beer tastes just the same as alcoholic beer.
Exactly. If you have the peach one, I'll get you a peach one, Gary. Those
Okay.
ones are good.
Okay,
They're very good.
I like peach.
Did Jody take a look at the medical equipment?
Yeah. good
Yeah,
question.
it's in the basement.
Oh, found stuff. as well?
Yeah, she didn't
Down
take
there
a
for the-
ton. There's not like a huge amount. She took like a walker, a wheelchair. She took some crutches. She took like a bath chair. It's just a very small amount in front of the old cabinet downstairs. There's more that she wants to get, but she did put a post out on the Tunbridge Facebook page asking if anybody had any storage ideas because she didn't want to fill the basement up. So, but Pat had wanted to get it out pretty soon because she's trying to really organize the barn. So Jody
Yeah.
kind of wanted to take it and not miss the opportunity. But I'm gonna make her labels that say like property of town of Tunbridge, and she's gonna make like a Google Doc that will say like who has what and like what date they loaned it out on and that type of thing.
Have Aunt Pat do on Memorial Day for
What about her? What portion of it?
some big jacked up loud pickup past me with the,
Oh, yeah. Did you hear Wayne?
and she started,
Yeah,
got into it with a guy that.
yeah. Wayne was very mad as well.
Oh, Gary, here's another one. At the end of medical equipment, it says for townspeople's needs.
Yep, same thing.
I think that apostrophe. Townspeople's, well, it should be for townspeople's. Probably needs, but with the S, it would be S townspeople's and then apostrophe at the end.
Oh. After the S, you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah. So what's the description of that? Why you do that?
Excitement.
It's not possessive, it's,
Excitement.
it's like if you wrote. You were giving
I've seen it many
shots.
times.
If you were giving, when it's a group, right, it comes at the end. So
Oh, townspeople
For
are a group.
for the count, if you said you were giving shots for your cows, plural cows needs, right, it would be COWS apostrophe. If
Yeah.
it was, because if it's just one for a cow, it'd be just one cow. But
Cows
if it's
needs, yeah.
all of them, it's at the end.
Did you know that?
This is just what Microsoft Word tells me to do.
For that. We're gonna send Microsoft Word to apostrophe school.
I did learn this all once a very long time
Yeah,
ago.
me too.
I think it was like high school English.
I slept through that class.
You're picking up the apostrophes pretty well.
I always thought
Probably-
adjourn is kind of an odd word.
Adjourn.
Bob Child's mother probably ground it into me.
All right. So if Michael wants to look at these, we can.
I'll use a different
Okay.
word for the minutes for this week for
Yeah,
when
good.
it ends.
So anyway,
Seizes.
John is approved, not approved.
Yeah,
I
looks
sat,
good.
I sat down at the computer today about 11:30 and I had to apply for a pasture management plan for the state.
Oh,
And
God.
so I was proud of myself because I got on, started the computer and I got on the right place and I did all that stuff and I went through and I filled out all the forms. It was like 5 or 6 pages. I had to do all of that stuff and I'm not good at it. And then I got to the end and I said, how do you submit this? So there was luckily, no, Lori wasn't home. So there was a email with a woman from the state, her phone number on it. So I called her up and she said, oh, you don't do that. If you did it last year, you don't have to do it.
Oh,
So I wasted 2 hours.
oh no.
2 hours of my life is gone.
I saw Max the other day. I said, hey, you've been working with Gary. And he said, yeah. And I said, did Gary pass along a message to him? And he said, no, what was he supposed to tell me? And I said, he was supposed to tell you Q. And he laughed, thought that was funny. He's like, I'm gonna tell him next time I
I
see
didn't
him.
dare. I was a little person.
What was he supposed to tell you?
Nothing.
All right,
I'll tell you off air.
all righty.
We had great fun working together.
He's funny.
Good.
They're fast.
He said he wants to try to do that for a lot of different people for next year. He
Yeah.
likes just mowing and getting it done, and
He likes going fast.
he does. He's a fast
Yeah.
guy.
You would like that Firebird.
I'm saying,
What are we talking about?
my brother Max.
No.
Do you have the pleasure of knowing him? Yeah. I'll send him over.
No, I know you, that's all,
Yeah.
all of that family, I wanna get
Oh,
involved.
nice. You'll meet him once, you'll know him forever.
Okay,
What was that for your nutrition management plan, Gary? Part of that?
Part of it, the big picture is yes. And also nutrient management.
Nutrient, that's what I mean, nutrient management. You need Laura Ginsburg on speed dial there.
Yes. What does Brock want?
That's Maeve.
Oh, me.
She's the one with the better nose and really good eyes. So there must be something out there.
Probably somebody riding their bike.
That's right. A raccoon.
field service.
That looks good. Should I make a motion to approve the minutes?
Yes,
So
I second it.
there we go.
all in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Aye,
You have,
pending Gary's edits.
yeah, I've already got them done.
Good.
What's everybody having for dinner? Like to poll the crowd.
I just had some cake.
I know, I'm pretty full actually, but I will probably go home and still make what I was.
I'm gonna make a salad.
I had salad last night.
What are you gonna make? Pizza?
I do like to make a pizza on Tuesday, so I think I'm gonna do barbecue chicken flatbread. I cook some chicken
Yeah,
and I have a flatbread, so I'm gonna put some cheese and some ranch maybe and stuff.
Like
But
it.
Oak Island's not on, so what am I gonna do?
What goes with hard kombucha?
Why isn't Oak Island on?
Season finale was a couple weeks ago.
Oh,
did they
yeah.
find anything?
They found a lot of stuff.
I missed it.
An old rusty nail,
Yeah.
rotten board,
A
somebody's a swing hammer.
lot of used medical equipment.
Yeah, exactly.
Somebody tossed it in the hole.
We could get in touch with them and offer that Tunbridge has a lot of stuff we'd like to throw down a hole, so, or West Tunbridge does especially.
Especially, we've already thrown that.
Load that table on your truck while you're here.
The one that's out front?
Yeah,
Then what am I gonna do with it?
take it to the transfer station.
Oh,
Oh,
That's
take it
good.
to Oak Island.
Yeah, take it to Oak Island, throw it down the hole.
put it over the bank behind where I parked.
The toilet, right, the toilet's vintage. They could say they found a 1921 toilet.
You know what? Speaking of vintage, I have been seeing people posting stuff about all this vintage clothing that they find at the thrift stores. And it's stuff that I wore when I was in like middle school and junior high.
That's what we're saying, Bennett.
And it makes me so sad.
Really?
It's like vintage, whatever, vintage Abercrombie. And I'm like, I owned that and I wore that. I am
More
vintage.
Abercrombie.
And yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Wow.
a society over there in Bethel.
Is it worth a lot now or are they giving it like
No, it's their store stuff. Yeah, it's pretty cheap.
a
But
dollar?
the opposite, also true that I remember interviewing, high school students in the early 2000s, and they were like, I like to listen to oldies like Madonna and Celine Dion.
Yeah. And you're like,
I'm
oh my
like,
God.
"That's not oldies."
They're old.
I know, I still like, people always say like, you don't feel like you age, and I'm like, yeah, okay, that's BS. But I feel like I'm college age still, and then I see kids who are in college and I am like,
Those are just babies.
their parents. I cannot.
I think about what I was doing when I was 20 years old and I look at 20-year-olds now and say, what's going on?
I know. And when you're 20, you're like, I know everything.
Yeah.
I am like so old. I'm this full grown adult, and like 20 is a child.
I built my first barn when I was 20.
There you go. One around here.
When I'm looking in right
Oh,
now.
nice.
Now it's vintage, Gary.
It's
Yeah.
vintage barn.
Beyond vintage.
So what's the last year vintage, Mariah? Like when does 1990 probably become vintage?
I don't know when, yeah. I
Must
thought
be-
vintage had to be like 25 years old for it
For
to be vintage.
cars, right? There's a rule for cars,
Right,
right?
yeah. It's like a vintage collectible, like whatever.
Yeah,
Whatever makes it sell.
Right, exactly.
yeah.
It's a piece of junk and call it vintage and then all of a sudden it goes up by 10%.
I will say, I do sell stuff on like one of those selling apps. It's kind of like an eBay, but I bought a pair of sheets and they were from the 70s on them. And so I listed them as vintage and I sold them for $30. And I thought, perfect.
They got little balls on them and everything.
Yeah, I'll show you a picture of them.
100
They're
years
all
old.
floral and
Oh, pretty.
these ones right here. People said, gotta
Nice.
have them.
Those are vintage though. You have any curtains to go with it?
No.
Well, the seventies are vintage for sure now,
Yeah,
clothing.
Yeah, those are the things that when I was a kid, my grandmother would take old curtains, or, I mean, a lot of people's grandmothers did, and make the girls dresses.
yeah,
So
yeah.
you'd have a dress like that.
That matched your sheets or
Yeah.
something.
And that would be vintage. Or it'd be antique now.
If Gary owned the Keds he wore as a kid, they'd be worth a lot of money.
Ooh, did you wear Keds as a kid?
I don't think we ever could afford kids.
Just bare feet.
Yeah, just bare feet. Oh,
So
it's-
did your,
What was cheaper than Keds, like PF Flyers or?
You didn't
Some
buy
Sears
the
brand.
name brand stuff, you got,
Oh, I don't remember.
you
It was
got
like,
the cheap stuff.
like go to Harry's or down to the Lebanon to Richie's or someplace like that. and get-
J.W. Barbers.
Yeah. I don't remember ever getting any name brand sneakers.
so did your dad milk too, or just
No.
your grandfather?
Just my grandfather.
Was his farm where yours is now?
Yes.
So you grew up like helping him do all that
Yeah.
anyways, and then you took it over?
Yeah. No signing page.
2020,
Oh,
knew everything.
Sorry.
Pouring rain.
It's raining out.
Yeah,
Is it really?
yeah. Are your windows down in your car?
No,
Mine are.
but it's
Yeah.
not really waterproof.
Are we
Hello?
done?
We're done enough.
Yes, I make a motion, we adjourn.
I second that.
All right, all in favor, say aye. We will adjourn
Aye.
slightly before 9. What you gonna do now, John? Go out and walk in the rain,
Yeah, I gotta do chores and then
trespass?
think about what I'll make for supper.
What are you gonna have for supper?
Make
I
a
don't know.
barbecue chicken flatbread.
Oh. I
That
met
sounds,
you-
that sounds great, but a lot of work at 10 o'clock.
I met your aunt. Diane. Savoy.
Oh, yeah. Emily's.
He came
must
in and got a U-Haul. He's a hoot.
Oh, right. Yeah. One of Butch's sisters.
Yeah, yeah. Seemed like a nice lady.
Yeah, they were all up here because Emily's grandmother died.
Yeah.
You're the farm all headquarters.
That's right. Ooh, this is raining.
Alrighty, well, I guess I'll go out in the rain, do chores.
Thank you, John,
Thank you,
Yeah.
John.
Thank you
Thank you.
guys,
for all your
Sorry
good questions.
missing all the good stuff to eat.
Thank you for your controversial comments.
Yeah.
Well, it seemed like, let's just heep it on.
Yeah.